Exodus chapter 1. Jacob descendant in Egypt. These are the names of the sons of Israel who, accompanied by their households, entered into Egypt with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali; Gad and Asher. The total number of the Jacob direct descendant was 70. Joseph was already in Egypt. Now Joseph and all his brothers and that whole generation died. But the Israelites were fruitful and prolific. They multiplied and became so very numerous that the land was filled with them. The oppression. Then a new king who knew nothing of Joseph rose to power in Egypt. He said to his people, "See, the Israelite people have multiplied and become more numerous than we are. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them to stop their increase. Otherwise, in the time of the war, they too may join our enemies to fight against us, and so leave the land." Accordingly, they set the supervisor over the Israelites to oppress them with the forced labor. Thus they had to fill for Pharaoh the garrison cities of the Pithom and the Ramses. Yet the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread, so that the Egyptians began to load the Israelites. So Egyptians reduced the Israelites to cruel slavery, making life bitter for them with hard labor at mortar and brick and all kinds of field work, cruelly oppressed in all their labors. Command to midwives. The king of Egypt told the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was called Shiphrah and the other Puah, "When you act as midwives for the Hebrew woman, look on the birth stool. If it is a boy, kill him, but if it is a girl, she may live." The midwives, however, feared God. They did not do as the king of Egypt had ordered them, but let the boys live. So the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this, allowing the boys to live?" The midwives answered Pharaoh, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are robust and give birth before the midwife arrives." Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very numerous. And because the midwives feared God, God built up families for them. Pharaoh then commanded all his people, "Throw into the Nile every boy that is born, but you may let all the girls live." Exodus chapter 2, Birth and Adoption of Moses. Now a man of the house of the Levi married a Levite woman, and the woman conceived and bore a son. Seeing what a fine child he was, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket, daubed it with bitumen and pitch, and putting the child in it, placed it among the reeds on the bank of the Nile. His sister stationed herself at a distance to find out what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe at the Nile, while her attendant walked along the bank of the Nile. Noticing the basket among the reeds, she sent her handmaid to fetch it. On opening it, she looked, and there was a baby boy crying. She was moved with pity for him and said, "It is one of the Hebrews' children." Then his sister asked the Pharaoh's daughter, "Should I go and summon a Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter answered her, "Go." So the young woman went and called the child's own mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse him for me, and I'll pay you wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. When the child grew, she brought him to the Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, For he said, I drew him out of the waters. Moses fled to Midian. On one occasion, after Moses had grown up, when he had gone out to his kinsmen and witnessed their forced labor, he saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his own kinsmen. Looking about and seeing no one, he struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out again, and now two Hebrews were fighting. So he asked the culprit, Why are you striking your companions? But he replied, Who has appointed you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian? Then Moses became afraid and thought the affair must certainly be known. When Pharaoh heard of the affair, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from the Pharaoh and went to the land of the Midian. There he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But shepherds came and drove them away, so Moses rose up in their defense and watered their flock. When they returned to their father Reuel, he said to them, How is it you have returned so soon today? They answered, An Egyptian delivered us from the shepherd. He even drew water for us and watered the flocks. Where is he? He asked his daughter. Why did you leave the man there? Invite him to have something to eat. Moses agreed to stay with him, and the man gave Moses his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She conceived and bore a son whom he named Gershom, for he said, I am a stranger residing in foreign land. The burning bush. A long time passed, during which the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned under their bondage and cried out. And from their bondage their cry for help went up to God. God heard their mourning, and God was mindful of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God saw the Israelites, and God knew. Exodus chapter 3. Meanwhile, Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of the Midian. Leading the flock beyond the wilderness, he came to the mountain of the God Horeb. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him as a fiery flame out of the bush. When he looked, although the bush was on fire, it was not being consumed. So Moses decided, I must turn aside to look at this remarkable sight. Why does the bush not burn up? When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to look, God called out to him from the bush, Moses, Moses, he answered, Here I am. God said, Do not come near, remove your sandal from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I am the God of your father, he continued, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Moses hid his face, for he is afraid to look at God. The call and the commission of Moses. But the Lord said, I have witnessed the affliction of my people in Egypt, and have heard their cry against their taskmasters. So I know well what they are suffering. Therefore I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptian and lead them out from that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the country of the Canaanite, the Hittite and the Amorite and the Perizzite, the Girgashite, the Hivite and Jebusite. Now indeed the outcry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen how the Egyptians are oppressing them. Now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? God answered, I will be with you, and this will be your sign that I have sent to you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will serve God at this mountain. But said Moses to God, if I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your ancestor has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What do I tell them? God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Then he added, this is what you will tell the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. God spoke further to Moses, this is what you will say to Israel, the Lord, the God of your ancestor, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is my title for all generations. Go and get the elder of the Israelites and tell them, the Lord, the God of your ancestor, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me and said, I have observed you and what is being done to you in Egypt. So I have decided to lead you up out of your affliction in Egypt into the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Perizzite, Girgashite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, a land flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to you. Then you and the elder of Israel will go to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of Hebrew, has come to meet us. So now let us go 3 days' journey in the wilderness to offer sacrifice to the Lord our God. Yet I know that the king of Egypt will not allow you to go unless his hand is forced. So I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all the wondrous deeds I'll do in its midst. After that he will let you go. I'll even make the Egyptians so well disposed toward these people that when you go, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman will ask her neighbor and the resident alien in her house for silver and gold articles and for clothing. And you will put them on your sons and daughters, so you will plunder the Egyptian. Exodus chapter 4. But objected Moses, suppose they do not believe me or listen to me, for they may say the Lord did not appear to you. The Lord said to him, what is in your hand? A staff, he answered. God said, throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and Moses backed away from it. Then the Lord said to Moses, now stretch out your hand and take hold of its tail. So he stretched out his hand and took hold of it, and it became a staff in his hand. That is so they will believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, did appear to you. Again the Lord said to him, put your hand into the fold of your garment. So he put his hand into the fold of his garment. And when he drew it out, there was his hand covered with scales like snowflakes. Then God said, put your hand back into the fold of your garment. So he put his hand back into the fold of his garment. And when he drew it out, there it was again like his own flesh. If they do not believe you or pay attention to the message of the first sign, they should believe the message of the second sign. And if they do not believe even these two signs and do not listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour into on the dry land. The water you take from the Nile will become blood on the dry land. Aaron's office as assistants. Moses, however, said to the Lord, if you please, my Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor now that you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of the speech and tongue. The Lord said to him, who gives one person speech? Who makes another mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will assist you in speaking and teach you what you are to say. But he said, "If you please, my Lord, send someone else." Then the Lord became angry with Moses and said, "I know there is your brother Aaron the Levite, who is a good speaker. Even now he is on his way to meet you. When he sees you, he will truly be glad. You will speak to him and put the words in his mouth. I'll assist both you and him in speaking and teach you both what you are to do. He will speak to the people for you. He will be your spokesman, and you will be as God to him. Take this staff in your hand. With it you are to perform the signs." Moses returned to Egypt. After this, Moses returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, "Let me return to my kindred in Egypt to see whether they are still living." Jethro replied to Moses, "Go in peace." Then the Lord said to Moses in Midian, "Return to Egypt, for all those who sought your life are dead." So Moses took his wife and his sons, mounted them on the donkey, and started back to the land of Egypt. Moses took the staff of God with him. The Lord said to Moses, "On your return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders I have put in your power. But I will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. So you will say to Pharaoh, 'Thus says the Lord, Israel is my son, my firstborn. I said to you, let my son go, that he may serve me. Since you refuse to let him go, I will kill your son, your firstborn.' On the journey, at a place where they spent the night, the Lord came upon Moses and sought to put him to death. But Zipporah took a piece of the flint and cut off her son's foreskin, and touching his feet, she said, 'Surely you are a spouse of the blood to me.' So God let Moses alone. At that time she said, 'a spouse of the blood,' in regard to the circumcision. The Lord said to Aaron, 'Go into the wilderness to meet Moses.' So we went. When meeting him at the mountain of God, he kissed him. Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and all the signs he had commanded him to do. Then Moses and Aaron went and gathered all the elders of the Israelites. Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses, and he performed the signs before the people. The people believed, and when they heard that the Lord had observed the Israelites and had seen their affliction, they knelt and bowed down. Exodus chapter 5, Pharaoh hardness of heart. Afterwards, Moses and Aaron went to the Pharaoh and said, 'Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast for me in the wilderness.' Pharaoh answered, 'Who is the Lord, that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go.' They replied, 'The God of the Hebrews has come to meet us. Let us go 3 days' journey in the wilderness, that we may offer sacrifice to the Lord our God, so that he does not strike us with the plague or the sword.' The king of Egypt answered them, 'Why, Moses and Aaron, do you make the people neglect their work up to your labors?' Pharaoh continued, 'Look how they are already more numerous than the people of the land, and yet you would give them rest from their labors.' That very day Pharaoh gave the taskmaster of the people and their foreman this order: 'You shall no longer supply the people with straw for their brick-making as before. Let them go and gather their own straw. Yet you shall levy upon them the same quota of the bricks as they made previously. Do not reduce it. They are lazy, that is why they are crying. Let us go to offer sacrifice to our God.' Increase the work for the men so that they attend to it and not to deceitful words. So the taskmaster of the people and their foremen went out and told the people, Thus says Pharaoh, I will not provide you with straw. Go and get your own straw from wherever you can find it, but there will not be the slightest reduction in your work. The people then scattered through the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw, while the taskmaster kept driving them on, saying, Finish your work, the same daily amount as when the straw was supplied to you. The Israelites, their foremen, whom the taskmaster of the Pharaoh had placed over them, were beaten and were asked, Why have you not completed your prescribed amount of the bricks yesterday and today as before? Complained of the foreman. Then the Israelites, their foreman, came and cried out to the Pharaoh, Why do you treat your servant in this manner? No straw is supplied to your servant, and still we are told, Make bricks. Look how your servants are beaten. It is you who are at fault. He answered, Lazy, you are lazy. That is why you keep saying, Let us go and offer sacrifice to the Lord. Now out to work. No straw will be supplied to you, but you must supply your quota of the bricks. The Israelites, their foremen, realized they were in trouble, having been told, Do not reduce your daily amount of the bricks. So when they left the Pharaoh, they assailed Moses and Aaron, who were waiting to meet them, and said to them, The Lord look upon you and judge. You have made us offensive to Pharaoh and his servant, putting a sword into their hands to kill us. Renewal of the God promise. Then Moses again had recourse to the Lord and said, Lord, why have you treated these people badly? And why did you send me? From the time I went to the Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has treated these people badly, and you have done nothing to rescue your people. Exodus chapter 6. The Lord answered Moses, Now you will see what I'll do to Pharaoh, for by strong hand he will let them go. By a strong hand he will drive them from his land. Confirmation of the promise to the ancestors. Then God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am the Lord. As God the Almighty, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but by my name, Lord, I did not make myself known to them. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of the Canaan, the land in which they were residing as aliens. Now that I have heard the groaning of the Israelites, whom the Egyptians have reduced to slavery, I am mindful of my covenant. Therefore say to the Israelites, I am the Lord, I will free you from the burden of the Egyptians and will deliver you from their slavery. I will redeem you by my outstretched arm and with the mighty act of the judgment. I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God, and you will know that I, the Lord, am your God, who has freed you from the burden of the Egyptian. And I will bring you into the land which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will give it to you as own possession, I, the Lord. But when Moses told this to the Israelites, they would not listen to him because of their destruction and hard slavery. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, Go tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the Israelites leave his land. However, Moses protested to the Lord, If the Israelites did not listen to me, how is it possible that Pharaoh will listen to me, poor speaker that I am? But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron regarding the Israelites and the Pharaoh, king of the Egypt, and charged them to bring the Israelites out of the land of the Egypt. A genealogy of the Moses and Aaron. These are the heads of their ancestral houses, the son of the Reuben, the firstborn of the Israel, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. These are the clans of the Reuben. The son of the Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Johar, and Shaul. The son of the Canaanite woman, these are the clan of the Simeon. These are the name of the sons of Levi in their genealogical order: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Levi lived on 137 years. The son of the Gershon by their clans, Libni and Shimei. The son of the Kohath, Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. Kohath lived 133 years. The son of the Merari, Mali, and Mush. These are the clan of the Levi in their genealogical order. Amram married his aunt Jehoshaphat, who brought him Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. Amram lived 137 years. The son of the Izhar, Korah, Nepheg, and Zikris. The son of the Uzziel, Michal, Elzaphan, and Sitris. Aaron married Elisheva, Aminadab, some daughters, the sister of the Nashon. She bore him Nadab, Abihu, Elizah, and Itamar. The son of the Korah, Asher, Elkanah, and Abiashab. These are the clan of the Korahite. Elizah, Aaron's sons, married one of the Putiel daughters, who bore him Phinehas. These are the head of the ancestral houses of the Levites by their clans. These are the Aaron and Moses to whom the Lord said, "Bring the Israelites out from the land of Egypt, company by company." They are the ones that spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring the Israelites out of Egypt, the same Moses and Aaron. When the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, the Lord said to Moses, "I am the Lord. Say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I tell you." But Moses protested to the Lord, "Since I am the poor speaker, how is it possible that Pharaoh will listen to me?" Exodus chapter 7. The Lord answered Moses, "See, I have made you a God to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother will be your prophet. You will speak all that I command you. In turn, your brother Aaron will tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go out of his land. Yet I will make Pharaoh so headstrong that, despite the many signs and wonders that I work in the land of Egypt, Pharaoh will not listen to you. Therefore I lay my hand on Egypt, and with mighty act of the judgment I will bring my armies, my people the Israelites, out of the land of Egypt. All Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring the Israelites out of their midst." This then is what Moses and Aaron did. They did exactly as the Lord had commanded them. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. The staff turned into a serpent. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "When Pharaoh demands of you, produce a sign on the wound. You will say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will turn into a serpent.'" Then Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord had commanded. Aaron threw his staff down before Pharaoh and his servant, and it turned into a serpent. Pharaoh in turn summoned the wise men and the sorcerers, and they also the magicians of Egypt did the same thing by their magic arts. Each one threw down his staff, and they turned into the serpents, but Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs. Pharaoh, however, hardened his heart and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had foretold. First the flag, water turned into the blood. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh is obstinate in refusing to let the people go. In the morning, just when he set out for the water, go to Pharaoh and present yourself by the bank of the Nile, holding in your hand the staff that turned into a snake. Say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, sent me to you with the message, let my people go to serve me in the wilderness, but as yet you have not listened. Thus says the Lord, this is how you will know that I am the Lord. With the staff here in my hand, I strike the water in Nile, and it will be changed into blood. The fish in the Nile will die, and the Nile itself will sting, so that Egyptians will be unable to drink water from the Nile. The Lord then spoke to Moses, speak to Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over the water of Egypt, its streams, its canals, its ponds, and all its supply of the water, that they may become blood. They will be blood throughout the land of Egypt, even in the wooden barrels and stone jars. This then is what Moses and Aaron did, exactly as the Lord had commanded. Aaron raised his staff and struck the water in the Nile in full view of the Pharaoh and his servant, and all the water in the Nile was changed into blood. The fish in the Nile died, and the Nile itself stank, so the Egyptians could not drink water from it. There was blood throughout the land of Egypt. But the Egyptian magician did the same by their magic art, so Pharaoh hardened his heart and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said. Pharaoh turned away and went into the house with no concern even for this. All the Egyptians had to dig around about the Nile for drinking water, since they could not drink any water from the Nile. Second plague, the frogs. 7 days passed after the Lord had struck the Nile. Then the Lord said to Moses, go to the Pharaoh and tell him, thus says the Lord, let my people go to serve me. If you refuse to let them go, then I will send the plague of the frogs over all your territories. The Nile will teem with the frogs. They will come up and enter into your palace and into your bedroom and onto your bed, into the houses of your servants too, and among your people, even into your ovens and your kneading bowls. The frogs will come up over you and your people and your servants. Exodus chapter 8. The Lord then spoke to Moses, speak to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff over the stream, the canals and the ponds, and make frogs overrun the land of Egypt. So Aaron stretched out his hand over the water of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. But magicians did the same by their magic art and made the frogs overrun the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, pray to the Lord to remove the frog from me and my people, and I will let the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. Moses answered the Pharaoh, please designate for me the time when I am to pray for you and your servant and your people, to get rid of the frogs from you and your houses. They will be left only in the Nile. Tomorrow, he said. Then Moses replied, it will be as you have said, so that you may know that there is none like the Lord our God. The frogs will leave you and your houses, your servants and your people. They will be left only in the Nile. After Moses and Aaron left the Pharaoh presence, Moses cried out to the Lord on account of the frogs that he had inflicted on Pharaoh. And the Lord did as Moses had asked. The frogs died up in the houses, the courtyard, and the fields. Heaps of them were piled up, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw there was a respite, he became obstinate and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said. Third plague, the gnat. Thereupon the Lord spoke to Moses, Speak to Aaron, stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the earth, and it will turn into gnat throughout the land of Egypt. They did so. Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff and struck the dust of the earth, and gnats came upon human being and beast alike. All the dust of the earth turned into gnat throughout the land of Egypt. Though the magician did the same thing to produce gnat by their magic art, they could not do so. The gnat were on human being and beast alike. And the magician said to Pharaoh, This is the finger of the God. Yes, Pharaoh hardened his heart and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said. First plague, the flies. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, Early tomorrow morning, present yourself to the Pharaoh when he sets out toward the waters, and say to him, Thus says the Lord, let my people go to serve me. For if you do not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies upon you, and your servant, and your people, and your houses. The houses of the Egyptians and their very ground on which they stand will be filled with swarms of flies. But on that day I will make an exception of the land of the Goshen, where my people are, and no swarm of flies will be there, so that you may know that I, the Lord, am in the midst of the land. I'll make a distinction between my people and your people. This sign will take place tomorrow. This the Lord did. Thick swarms of the flies entered the houses of the Pharaoh and the houses of the servant. Throughout Egypt, the land was devastated on account of the swarms of the flies. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, Go sacrifice to your God within the land. But Moses replied, It is not right to do so, for what he sacrificed to the Lord our God is abhorrent to Egyptians. If we sacrifice what is abhorrent to the Egyptians before their very eyes, will they not stone us? We must go a 3-day journey in the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he commands us. Pharaoh said, I will let you go to sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness, provided that you do not go too far away. Pray for me. Moses answered, As soon as I leave here, I will pray to the Lord that swarms of the flies may depart tomorrow from Pharaoh, his servant, and his people. Pharaoh, however, must not act deceitfully again and refuse to let the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. When Moses left Pharaoh, he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord did as Moses had asked, removing the swarms of the flies from the Pharaoh, his servant, and his people. Not one remained. But once more Pharaoh became obstinate and would not let the people go. Exodus chapter 9. Fifth plague, the pestilence. Then the Lord said to Moses, Go to Pharaoh and tell him, Thus says the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go to serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and persist in holding them, the hand of the Lord will strike your livestock in the field, your horses, donkeys, camels, herds, and flocks, with a very severe pestilence. But the Lord will distinguish between the livestock of the Israel and that of Egypt, so that nothing belonging to the Israelites will die. And the Lord set definite time, saying, Tomorrow the Lord will do this in the land. And on the next day the Lord did it. All the livestock of the Egyptians died, but not one animal belonging to the Israelites died. But all the Pharaoh found upon inquiry that not even so much as one of the livestock of the Israelites had died. He remained obstinate and would not let the people go. Sixth plague, the boils. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Each of you take a handful of the soot from a kiln and in the presence of the Pharaoh let Moses scatter it toward the sky. It will turn into the fine dust over the whole land of Egypt and cause festering boils on the human being and the beast alike throughout the land of Egypt. So they took the soot from the kiln and appeared before Pharaoh. When Moses scattered it toward the sky, it caused festering boils on human being and the beast alike. Because of the boils, the magician could not stand in Moses' presence, for there were boils on the magician as well as on the rest of the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said to Moses. Seventh plague, the hail. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, early tomorrow morning, present yourself to the Pharaoh and say to him, Thus says the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go to serve me. For this time I'll unleash all my blows upon you and your servant and your people, so that you may know that there is none like me anywhere on earth. For now I should have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with such pestilence that you would have vanished from the earth. But this is why I have let you survive, to show you my power and to make my name resound throughout the earth. Will you continue to exalt yourself over my people and not let them go? At this time tomorrow, therefore, I am going to rain down such a furious hail as there has never been in Egypt from the day it was founded up to the present. Therefore, order your livestock and whatever else you have in the open field to be brought to the place of the safety. Whatever human being or animal is found in the fields and is not brought to the shelter will die when the hail comes down upon them. Those of the Pharaoh's servants who feared the word of the Lord hurried their servant and their livestock up to shelter. But those who did not pay attention to the words of the Lord left their servant and their livestock in the field. The Lord then said to Moses, Stretch out your hand toward the sky, that hail may fall upon the entire land of Egypt, on human being and beast alike, and all the vegetation of the field in the land of Egypt. So Moses stretched out his staff toward the sky, and the Lord sent forth spears of the thunder and the hail. Lightning flashed toward the earth, and the Lord rained down hail upon the land of Egypt. There was hail and lightning flashing here and there through the hail, and the hail was so fierce that nothing like it had been seen in Egypt since it became a nation. Throughout the land of Egypt, the hail struck down everything in the field, human being and beast alike. It struck down all the vegetation of the field and splintered every tree in the fields. Only in the land of the Goshen, where the Israelites were, was there no hail. Then Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron and said to them, I have seen this time the Lord is just one, and I am and my people are the ones at fault. Pray to the Lord, enough of the thunder and the hail. I'll let you go. You need stay no longer. Moses replied to him, As soon as I leave the city, I'll extend my hand to the Lord. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth belongs to the Lord. But as for you and your servant, I know that you do not yet fear the Lord God. Now the flax and the barley were ruined, because the barley was in ear and the flax in bud. But the wheat and the spelt were not ruined, for they grow later. When Moses had left the Pharaoh and gone out of the city, he extended his hand to the Lord. The thunder and the hail ceased, and the rain no longer poured down upon the earth. But Pharaoh, seeing that the rain and the hail and the thunder had ceased, sinned again and became obstinate, both he and his servant. In the hardness of his heart, Pharaoh would not let the Israelites go, just as the Lord had said through Moses. Exodus chapter 10, 8th plague, the locust. Then the Lord said to Moses, Go to Pharaoh, for I have made him and his servant obstinate, in order that I may perform this sign of mine among them, and that you may recount to your son and grandson how I made the foot of the Egyptian, and what sign I did among them, so that you may know that I am the Lord. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and told him, Thus says the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, How long will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go to serve me. For if you refuse to let my people go, tomorrow I'll bring a locust into your territories. They will cover the surface of the earth so that the earth itself will not be visible. They will eat up the remnant you saved undamaged from the hail, as well as all the trees that are growing in your fields. They will fill your houses and the houses of your servant and all of the Egyptians, something your parents and your grandparents have not seen from the day they appeared on this soil until today. With that he turned and left Pharaoh. But Pharaoh's servant said to him, How long will he be a snare for us? Let the people go to serve the Lord their God. Do you not yet realize that Egypt is being destroyed? So Moses and Aaron were brought back to the Pharaoh, who said to them, Go serve the Lord your God, but who exactly will go? Moses answered, With our young and old we must go, with our sons and daughters, with our flock and herds we must go. It is a pilgrimage feast of the Lord for us. The Lord help you, Pharaoh replied, If I let your little ones go with you, clearly you have some evil in mind. By no means, just you men go and serve the Lord. After all, that is what you have been asking for. With that, they were driven from Pharaoh's presence. The Lord then said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locust, that they may come upon it and eat up all the land of the vegetation, whatever the herald has left. So Moses stretched out his staff over the land of Egypt, and the Lord drove an east wind over the land all that day and all night. When it was morning, the east wind brought the locust. The locust came over the whole land of Egypt and settled down over all its territories. Never before had there been such a fierce swarm of the locust, nor will there ever be again. They covered the surface of the whole land so that it became black. They ate up all the vegetation in the land and all the fruit of the trees the hail had spared. Nothing green was left on any tree or plant in the fields throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh hurriedly summoned Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. But now do forgive me my sin only this once, and pray to the Lord your God only to take this task from me. When Moses left Pharaoh, he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord caused the wind to shift to a very strong west wind, which took up the locusts and hurled them into the Red Sea. Not a single locust remained within the whole territory of Egypt. Yet the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go. Ninth plague, the darkness. Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand toward the sky, that over the land of Egypt there may be such a darkness that one can feel it. So Moses stretched out his hand toward the sky, and there was dense darkness throughout the land of Egypt for 3 days. People could not see one another, nor could they get up from where they were for 3 days, but all Israelites had right where they lived. Pharaoh then summoned Moses and Aaron and said, Go serve the Lord, only your flock and herds will be detained, even your little ones may go with you. But Moses replied, You also must give us a sacrifice and a burnt offering to make to the Lord our God. Our livestock also must go with us, not an animal must be left behind, for some of them will select for service to the Lord, our Lord. But we will not know with which ones we are to serve the Lord until we arrive there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was unwilling to let them go. Pharaoh said to Moses, "Leave me and see to it that you do not see my face again, for the day you do see my face, you will die." Moses replied, "You are right, I'll never see your face again." Exodus chapter 11, 10th plague, the death of the firstborn. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "One more plague I will bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. After that he will let you depart. In fact, when the final lets you go, he will drive you away. Instruct the people that every man is ask his neighbor and every woman her neighbor for silver and gold article and for clothing." The Lord indeed made the Egyptians well disposed toward the people. Moses himself was very highly regarded by Pharaoh's servant and the people in the land of Egypt. Moses then said, "Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go forth through Egypt. Every firstborn in the land of Egypt will die, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sits on his throne to the firstborn of the slave girls who is at the handmaid, as well as all the firstborn of the animals. Then there will be loud wailing throughout the land of the Egypt, such as has never been, nor will ever be again. But among all the Israelites, among human beings and animals alike, not even a dog will growl, so that you may know that the Lord distinguishes between Egypt and Israel. All these servants of yours will then come down to me and bow down before me, saying, Leave you and all your followers. Then I'll depart. With that we left the Pharaoh presence in hot anger. The Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Thus all the Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders in Pharaoh's presence. The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go from his land. Exodus chapter 12, the Passover ritual prescribed. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, This month will stand at the head of your calendar. You will reckon it at the first month of the year. Tell the whole community of Israel, on the 10th of this month, every family must procure for itself a lamb, one apiece for each household. If a household is too small for a lamb, it along with its nearest neighbor will procure one, and apportion the lamb cost in proportion to the number of the persons, according to what each household consumes. Your lamb must be a year-old male and without the blemish. You may take it from either the sheep or the goats. You will keep it until the 14th day of this month, and then, with the whole community of Israel assembled, it will be slaughtered during the evening twilight. They will take some of its blood and apply it to doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They will consume its meat the same night, eating it roasted with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or even boiled in water, but roasted with its head and shank and the inner organs. You must not keep any of it beyond the morning. Whatever is left over in the morning must be burned up. This is how you are to eat it, with your loins girt, the sandal on your feet, and your staff in hand. You will eat it in holy. It is the Lord Passover. For on this same night I will go through Egypt, striking down every firstborn in the land, human being and beast alike, and executing judgment on all the gods of the Egypt. I, the Lord. But for you the blood will mark the houses where you are. Seeing the blood I will pass over you. Thereby, when I strike the land of Egypt, no destructive blow will come upon you. This day will be a day of the remembrance for you, which your future generation will celebrate with a pilgrimage to the Lord. We will celebrate it as a statute forever. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. From the very first day you will have your houses clear of all leaven. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day to the seventh will be cut off from Israel. On the first day you will hold the sacred assembly, and likewise on the seventh. On these days no sort of the work shall be done, except to prepare the food that everyone needs. Keep then the custom of the unleavened bread, since it was on this day that I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. You must observe this day throughout your generation as a statute forever. From the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of this month, you will eat unleavened bread. For 7 days no leaven may be found in your houses. For anyone, a resident alien or a native, who eats leavened food will be cut off from the community of Israel. You shall eat nothing leavened. Wherever you dwell, you may eat only unleavened bread. Promulgation of the Passover. Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and procure lambs for your family and slaughter the Passover victims. Then take a bunch of the hyssop and dipping it in the blood that is in the basin. Apply some of the blood to lintel and to doorpost, and none of you shall go outdoors until morning. For when the Lord goes by to strike down the Egyptians, seeing the blood on the lintel and the two doorposts, the Lord will pass over that over and not let the destroyer come into your houses to strike you down. You will keep this practice forever as a statute for yourselves and your descendants. Thus, when you have entered the land which the Lord will give you as He promised, you must observe this rite. When your children ask what that this rite of yours means, you will reply, It is the Passover sacrifice for the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. When He struck down the Egyptians, He delivered our houses. Then the people knelt and bowed down. And the Israelites went and did exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, death of the firstborn. And so at midnight the Lord struck down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh sitting on his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeons, as well as the firstborn of the animals. Pharaoh arose in the night, he and all his servants and all his Egyptians, and there was loud wailing throughout Egypt, for there was not a house without its dead. Permission to depart. During the night, the Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, Leave my people at once, you and Israel, go and serve the Lord as you said. Take your flocks too and your herds as you said, and go and bless me too. The Egyptians, in hurry to send them away from the land, urged the people on, for they said, All of us will die. The people therefore took their dough before it was leavened in their kneading bowls, wrapped in their cloaks on their shoulders. And the Israelites did as Moses had commanded. They asked the Egyptian for articles for silver and gold and for clothing. Indeed, the Lord had made the Egyptians so well disposed toward the people that they let them have whatever they asked for. And so they despoiled the Egyptian. Departure from Egypt. The Israelites set out from Ramesses for Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, not counting the children. A crowd of the mixed ancestry also went up with them, with livestock in great abundance, both flock and horse. The dough they had brought out of Egypt they baked into unleavened loaves. It was not leavened because they had been driven out of Egypt and could not wait. They did not even prepare food for the journey. The time the Israelites had stayed in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, on this very date, all the army of the Lord left the land of Egypt. This was a night of vigil for the Lord when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. So on this night, all Israelites must keep a vigil for the Lord throughout their generation. Law of the Passover. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the Passover statute. No foreigner may eat of it. However, every slave bought for money you will circumcise, then he may eat of it. But no tenant or hired workers may eat of it. It must be eaten in one house. You may not take any of its meat outside the house. You shall not break any of its bones." The whole community of Israel must celebrate this feast. If any alien reside among you would celebrate the Passover for the Lord, all his males must be circumcised, and then he may join in its celebration just like the natives. But no one who is uncircumcised may eat of it. There will be one law for the native and for the alien residing among you. All the Israelites did exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. On that same day, the Lord brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, company by company. Exodus chapter 13, consecration of firstborn. The Lord spoke to Moses and said, "Consecrate to me every firstborn, whatever opens the wombs among the Israelites, whether of the human being or beast, belongs to me." Moses said to people, "Remember this day on which you came out of Egypt, out of house of the slavery, for it was with a strong hand that the Lord brought you out from there. Nothing made with a ribbon may be eaten. This day on which you are going out is in the month of the Abib. Therefore, when the Lord your God has brought you into the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Perizzite, the Girashite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, which he swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, we will perform the following service in this month. For 7 days you will eat unleavened bread, and the seventh day will also be a festival to the Lord. Unleavened bread may be eaten during the 7 days, but nothing leavened and no leaven may be found in your possession in all your territories. And on that day you will explain to your son, "This is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt." It will be like a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead, so that the teaching of the Lord will be on your lips. With a strong hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. You will keep this statute at its appointed time from year to year. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, just as he swore to you and your ancestors, and gives it to you. You will dedicate to the Lord every newborn that opens the womb, and every firstborn made of your animals will belong to the Lord. Every firstborn of the donkey you will ransom with the sheep. If you do not ransom in it, you will break its neck. Every human firstborn of your sons you must ransom. And when your son asks you later on, what does this mean? You will tell him, with a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of house of the slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of the human being and the beast alike. That is why I sacrifice to the Lord every male that opens the wombs, and why I ransom every firstborn of my sons. It will be like a sign on your hand and a band on your forehead that with a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, toward the Red Sea. Now when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by way of the Philistine land, though this was the nearest. For God said, if the people see that they have to fight, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. Instead, God rerouted them toward the Red Sea by way of the wilderness road, and the Israelites went out of the land of Egypt arrayed for battles. Moses also took Joseph's bones with him, for Joseph had made the Israelites take a solemn oath, saying, God will surely take care of you, and you must bring my bones up with you from here. Setting out from Sukkot, they camped at Etam, near the edge of the wilderness. The Lord preceded them in the daytime by means of the column of the cloud to show them the way, and at night by means of the column of fire to give them light. Thus they could travel both day and night. Neither the column of the cloud by day nor the column of the fire by night ever left its place in front of the people. Exodus chapter 14. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, speak to Israelites, let them turn about and camp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. Camp in front of the Baal-zephon, just opposite by the sea. Pharaoh will then say, the Israelites are wandering about aimlessly in the land. The wilderness has closed in on them. I will so harden Pharaoh's heart that we will pursue them. Then thus I will receive glory through Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. This the Israelites did. When it was reported to the king of Egypt that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servant had a change of the heart about the people. What in the world have we done? They said, we have released Israel from our service. So Pharaoh hardened his chariot and took his army with him. He took 600 select chariots and all the chariots of Egypt, with the official on all of them. The Lord hardened the heart of the Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites while they were going out in triumph. The Egyptians pursued them, all of Pharaoh's horses, his chariot, his horsemen, and his army, and caught up with them as they lay encamped by the sea at Pi-hahiroth in front of the Baal-zephon, crossing the Red Sea. Now Pharaoh was near when the Israelites looked up and saw that the Egyptians had set out after them. Greatly frightened, the Israelites cried out to the Lord. To Moses they said, were there no burial place in Egypt that you brought us to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Did we not tell you this in Egypt when he said, leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptian? Far better for us to serve the Egyptian than to die in the wilderness. But Moses answered the people, do not fear, stand your ground and see the victory the Lord will win for you today. For these Egyptians whom you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you, you have only to keep still. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? tell the Israelites to set out. And you lift up your step and stretch out your hand over the sea and split it in two, that the Israelites may pass through the sea on dry land. But I will harden the heart of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will receive glory through Pharaoh and all his army, his chariot and his horsemen. The Egyptian will know that I am the Lord when I receive glory through Pharaoh, his chariot and his horsemen. The angel of the God who had been leading Israel's army now moved and went around behind them, and the column of the cloud moving from in front of them took up its place behind them, so that it came between the Egyptian army and that of Israel. And when it became dark, the cloud illumined the night, and so the rival camps did not come any closer together all night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove back the sea with the strong east wind all night long, and turned the sea into dry ground. The waters were split, so that the Israelites entered into the midst of the sea on dry land, with the water as a wall to the right and to the left. Rout of the Egyptian. The Egyptians followed in pursuit after them, all Pharaoh horses and chariot and horsemen, into the midst of the sea. But during the watch just before dawn, the Lord looked down from a column of the fiery cloud upon the Egyptian army and threw it into a panic. And he saw clogged their chariot wheels that they could drive only with difficulty. With that, the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the Israel, because the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the water may flow back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariot and their horsemen." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea returned to its normal flow. The Egyptians were fleeing head-on toward it when the Lord cast the Egyptians into the midst of the sea. As the water flowed back, it covered the chariot and the horsemen of all Pharaoh's army, which had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not even one escaped. But the Israelites had walked on dry land through the midst of the sea, with the water as a wall to their right and to the left. Thus the Lord saved Israel on that day from the power of Egypt, when Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the seashore. And saw the great power that the Lord had shown against Egypt. The people feared the Lord, they believed in the Lord and in Moses his servant. Exodus chapter 15. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. "I will sing to the Lord, for he is gloriously triumphant. Horse and chariot he has cast into the sea. My strength and my refuge in the Lord, and he has become my Savior. This is my God, I praise him. The God of my father, I extol him. The Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name. Pharaoh, chariot, and army he hurled into the sea. The elite of his officials were drowned in the Red Sea. The flood waters covered them. They sank into the depths like a stone. Your right hand, O Lord, the magnificent in power. Your right hand, O Lord, shatters the enemies. In your great majesty, you overthrow your adversaries. You loosed your wrath to consume them like a stove. At the breast of your nostrils, the water piled up. The flowing waters stood like a mound. The flood waters foamed in the midst of the sea. The enemy boasted, "I'll pursue and overtake them. I'll divide the spoils and have my fill of them. I will draw my sword. My hand will despoil them." When you blow with your breath, the sea covered them like lead that sank in the mighty waters. Who is like you among the gods, O Lord? who is like you, magnificent among the holy ones, awe-inspiring indeed of the renowned worker of wonders. When you stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your love you led the people you redeemed. In your strength you guided them to your holy dwelling. The people heard and quaked. The anguish gripped the dwellers in Philistia. Then were the chieftains of the Edom dismayed. The noble of the Moab seized by trembling. All the inhabitants of the Canaan melted away. Terror and dread fell upon them. By the might of your arm they became silent like a stone. While your people, Lord, pass over, while the people whom you created pass over. You brought them in, you planted them on the mountain that is your own, the place you made the base of your throne, Lord, the sanctuary, Lord, your hands established. May the Lord reign forever and ever. When Pharaoh horses and the chariot and horsemen entered the sea, the Lord made the water of the sea flow back upon them. Though the Israelites walked on dry land through the midst of the sea. Then the prophet Miriam, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand, while on the woman went out after her with tambourine and dancing. And she responded to them, sing to the Lord, for he is gloriously triumphant. Horses and chariot he has cast into the sea, at the Marah and the Elims. Then Moses led Israel forward from the Red Sea, and they marched out to the wilderness of the shore. After traveling for 3 days through the wilderness without finding waters, they arrived at the Marah, where they could not drink its water because it was too bitter. Hence, this place was called Marah. As the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What are we to drink?" he cried out to the Lord, who pointed out to him a piece of the wood. When he threw it into the water became fresh. It was here that God, in making statute and the ordinance for them, put them to the test. He said, "If you listen close to the voice of the Lord your God and to do what is right in his eyes, if you heed his commandment and keep all his statutes, I will not afflict you with any of the disease with which I afflicted the Egyptian, for I, the Lord, am your healer." Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of the water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the wall. Exodus chapter 16, the wilderness of the sin. Having set out from Elim, the whole Israelite community came into the wilderness of the sin, which is between Elim and the Sinai. On the 15th day of the second month after their departure from the land of Egypt. Here is in the wilderness the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died at the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, as we sat by our cattle of the meat and ate our fill of the bread. But you have led us into the wilderness to make this whole assembly die of famine, the quail and the manna." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I am going to rain down bread from the heaven for you. Each day the people are to go out and gather their daily portion. Thus will I test them to see whether they follow my instruction or not. On the 6 days, however, when they prepare what they bring in, let it be twice as much as they gather on the other days." So Moses and Aaron told all the Israelites, "At evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord when he hears your grumbling against him. But who are we that you should grumble against us?" And Moses said, "When the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning your fill of the bread, and hears the grumbling you utter against him, who then are we your grumbling is not against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, tell the whole Israelite community, approach the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling. But while Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they turned in the direction of the wilderness, and there the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. The Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, in the evening twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will have your fill of the bread. And then you will know that I, the Lord, am your God. In the evening, quail came up and covered the camp. In the morning, there was a ray of the dew all about the camp. And when the ray of the dew evaporated, fine flakes were on the surface of the wilderness, fine flakes like hoar frost on the ground. On seeing it, the Israelites asked one another, what is this? For they did not know what it was. But Moses told them, it is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. Regulation regarding the manna. Now this is what the Lord has commanded, gather as much of it as each needs to eat, an omer for each person, for as many of you as there are. Each of you providing for those in your own tent. The Israelites did so, some gathered a large and some small amount. But when they measured it out by the omers, the one who had gathered a large amount did not have too much, and the one who had gathered a small amount did not have too little. They gathered as much as each needed to eat. Moses said to them, let no one leave any of it over until morning. But they did not listen to Moses, and some kept a part of it over until morning. And it became wormy and stank. Therefore Moses was angry with them. Morning after morning they gathered it as much as it needed to eat, but when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day they gathered twice as much food, 2 omers for each person. When all the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses, he told them, that is what the Lord has prescribed. Tomorrow is a day of the rest, a holy Sabbath of the Lord. Whatever you want to bake, bake. Whatever you want to boil, boil. But whatever is left, put away and keep until the morning. When they put it away until the morning, as Moses commanded, it did not stink, nor were there worms in it. Moses then said, eat it today, for today is the Sabbath of the Lord. Today you will not find any in the field. 6 days you will gather it, but on the 7 days, the Sabbath, it will not be there. Still on the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather it, but they did not find any. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commandment and my instructions? Take note, the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6 days we give you food for 2 days. Each of you stay where you are and let no one go out on 7th day. After that, the people rested on the 7th day. The house of the Israel named this food manna. It was like a coriander seed, white, and it tasted like waffles made with honey. Moses said, this is what the Lord has commanded. Keep a full omer of it for your future generations, so that they may see the food I gave you to eat in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. Moses then told Aaron, take a jar and put a full omer of the manna in it, then place it before the Lord to keep it for your future generation. As the Lord had commanded Moses, Aaron placed it in front of the covenant to keep it. The Israelites ate the manna for 40 years until they came to settled land. They ate the manna until they came to borders of the Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of the ephah. Exodus chapter 17, Water from the rock. From the wilderness of the Sin, the whole Israelite community journeyed by stage as the Lord directed and encamped at the Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink, and so they quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses replied to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to a test?" Here then, in their thirst for water, the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "Why then did you bring us up out of Egypt, to have us die of the thirst with our children and our livestock?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What shall I do with these people? A little more, and they will stone me." The Lord answered Moses, "Go on ahead of the people and take along with you some of the elders of Israel, holding in your hand, as you go, the staff with which you struck the Nile. I'll be standing there in front of you on the rock of the Horeb. Strike the rock, and the water will flow from it for the people to drink." Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel. The place was named Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled there and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord in our midst or not?" Battle with the Amalekites. Then Amalek came and waged war against Israel in Rephidim. So Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some men for us, and tomorrow go out and engage Amalek in battle. I'll be standing on top of the hill with the staff of the God in my hand." Joshua did as Moses told him. He engaged Amalek in battle while Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of the hill. As long as Moses kept his hand raised up, Israel had the better of the fight. But when he let his hand rest, Amalek had the better of the fight. Moses' hands, however, grew tired, so they took a rock and put it under him, and he sat on it. Meanwhile, Aaron and Hur supported his hand, one on one side and one on the others, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. And Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this down in a book as something to be remembered, and recite it to the Joshua. I will completely blot out the memory of the Amalek from under the heavens." Moses built an altar there, which he named Yahweh Nissi. For he said, "Take up the banner of the Lord has war against Amalek through the ages." Exodus chapter 18, meeting with Jethro. Now Moses' father-in-law Jethro, the priest of the Midian, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. So his father-in-law Jethro took along Zipporah, Moses' wife. Now this was after Moses had sent her back. And her two sons, one of these was named Gershom, for he said, "I am a resident alien in a foreign land." The other was named Eleazar, for he said, "The God of my father is my help. He has rescued me from Pharaoh's sword." Together with Moses' wife and sons, then his father-in-law Jethro came to him in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of the God. And he sent the word to Moses, "I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you, along with your wife and her two sons." Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, bowed down, and then kissed him. Having greeted each other, they went into the tent. Moses then told his father-in-law of all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptian for the sake of the Israel, and of all hardship that had beset them on their journey, and how the Lord had rescued them. Jethro rejoiced over the all goodness that the Lord had shown Israel in the rescuing them from the power of the Egyptian. "Blessed be the Lord," he said, "who has rescued you from the power of the Egyptian and the Pharaoh." Now I know the Lord is great than the old God, for he rescued the people from the power of the Egyptians when they treated them arrogantly. Then Jethro, the father-in-law Moses, brought the burnt offering and the sacrifice for the God, and Aaron came with all the elders of the Israel to share with Moses' father-in-law in meal before God. Appointment of the minor judges. The next day Moses sat in the judgment for the people while they stood around him from morning until evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he asked, "What is this business that you are conducting for the people? Why do you sit alone while all the people have to stand about you from morning till evening?" Moses answered his father-in-law, "The people come to me to consult God. Whenever they have a disagreement, they come to me to have me settle the matter between them and make known to them God's statute and instruction." "What you are doing is not wise," Moses' father-in-law replied. "You will surely wear yourself out, both you and these people with you. The task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone. Now listen to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. Act as the people representative before God, and bring their dispute to God. Enlighten them in regard to the statute and the instructions, showing them how they are to conduct themselves and what they are to do. But you should also look among the people for the able and God-fearing men, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and set them over the people as a commandment of the thousands, of the hundreds, of the fifties, and of tens. Let these render decision for the people in all routine cases. Every important case they should refer to you, but every lesser case then can settle themselves. Lighten your burden by letting them bear it with you. If you do this and God so commands you, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people too will go home content." Moses listened to his father-in-law and did all that he had said. He picked out the able men from all Israel and put them in charge of the people as commander of the thousands, of the hundreds, of the fifties, and tens. They rendered decision for the people in the all routine cases. The more difficult cases they referred to Moses, but all the rest of cases they settled themselves. Then Moses said farewell to his father-in-law, who went off to his own country. Exodus chapter 19, Arrival in Sinai. In the third month after Israel departed from the land of Egypt, on the first day they came to the wilderness of the Sinai. After they made the journey from the Rephidim and entered the wilderness of the Sinai, they then pitched camp in the wilderness, while Israel was encamped there in front of the mountain. Moses went up to the mountain of the God. Then the Lord called to him from the mountain, saying, "This is what you will say to the house of the Jacob. Tell the Israelites, you have seen how I treated the Egyptian and how I bore you up on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now if you obey me completely and keep my covenant, you will be my treasured possession among all peoples, though all the earth is mine. You will be to me a kingdom of the priests, a holy nation. That is what you must tell the Israelites." So Moses went and summoned the elders of the people, when he set before them all that the Lord had ordered him to tell them. All the people answered together, "Everything the Lord has said, we will do." Then Moses brought back to the Lord the response of the people. The Lord said to Moses, "I am coming to you now in dense cloud, so that when the people hear me speaking with you, they will also remain faithful to you." When Moses then had reported the response of the people to the Lord, the Lord said to Moses, "Go to the people and have them sanctify themselves today, and tomorrow have them wash their garments. And be ready for the third day, for on the third day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the peoples. Set limits for the people all around, saying, take care not to go up the mountain or even to touch its edge. All who touch the mountain must be put to death. No hand shall touch them, but they must be stoned to death or killed with arrows. Whether human being or beast, they must not be allowed to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds may they go up on the mountain. Then Moses came down from the mountain to the people and had them sanctify themselves, and they washed their garments. He said to people, be ready for the third days, do not approach omens, the great theophanies. On the morning of the third day, there were peals of the thunder and the lightning and the heavy cloud over the mountain and the very loud blast of the shofar, so that all the people in the camp of the trembled. But Moses led the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stationed themselves at the foot of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was completely enveloped in smoke, because the Lord had come down upon it in fire. The smoke rose from it as though from a kiln, and the whole mountain trembled violently. The blast of the shofar grew loud and loud while Moses was speaking, and God was answering him with thunders. When the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain, the Lord summoned Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. Then the Lord told Moses, go down and warn the people not to break through the road in order to see him, otherwise many of them will be struck down. For their part, the priests who approach the Lord must sanctify themselves, else the Lord will break out in anger against them. But Moses said to the Lord, the people cannot go up to Mount Sinai, for you yourself warned us, saying, set limits around the mountain to make it sacred. So the Lord said to him, go down and come up along with Aaron, but do not let the priest and the people break through the come up to the Lord, else he will break out against them. So Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. Exodus chapter 20, the 10 Commandments. Then God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of the slavery. You shall not have other God beside me. You shall not make for yourself an idol or an likeness of anything in the heavens above or on the earth below or in the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow down before them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am the jealous God, inflicting punishment for their ancestors' wickedness on the children of those who hate me, down to the third and the fourth generation, but showing love down to the thunderous generation of those who love me and keep my commandment. You shall not invoke the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave unpunished anyone who invokes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. 6 days you may labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, either you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your work animal, or the resident alien within your gate. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but on the 7th day he rested. That is why the Lord has blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, his male or the female slave, his ox and donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbors. Moses accepted as mediators. Now as all the people witnessed the thunder and the lightning, the blast of the shofar and the mountain smoking, they became afraid and trembled, so they took up a position farther away. And said to Moses, you speak to us and we will listen, but do not let God speak to us, or we shall die. Moses answered the people, do not be afraid, for God has come only to test you and put the fear of him upon you, so you do not sin. So the people remained at a distance while Moses approached the dark cloud where God was. The Covenant Code. The Lord said to Moses, this is what you will say to Israel, you have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. You shall not make alongside of me God of the silver, nor shall you make for yourselves God of gold. An altar of earth make for me, and sacrifice upon it your burnt offering and the communion sacrifice, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I cause my name to be invoked, I'll come to you and bless you. But if you make an altar of the stone for me, do not build it of cut stone, for by putting a chisel to it you profane it. You shall not ascend to my altar by steps, lest your nakedness be exposed. Exodus chapter 21, Laws regarding slaves. These are the ordinances you shall lay before them. When you purchase a Hebrew slave, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall live as a free person without any payment. If he comes into service alone, he shall live alone. If he comes with a wife, his wife shall live with him. But if his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children belong to her master, and the man shall live alone. If, however, the slave declares, I love my master and my wife and children, I will not live as a free person. His master shall bring him to God, and there at the door of the doorpost he shall pierce his ear with an awl, thus keeping him as his slave forever. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go free as male slaves do. But if she displays her master who had designated her for himself, he shall let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has broken faith with her. If he designates her for his son, he shall treat her according to ordinance for daughters. If he takes another wife, he shall not withhold her food, her clothing, or her conjugal rights. If he does not do these 3 things for her, she may live without cost, without any payment. Personal injuries. Whoever strikes someone a mortal blow must be put to death. However, regarding the one who did not hunt another down, but God caused death to happen by his hand, I will set apart for you a place to which that one may flee. But when someone kills a neighbor after maliciously scheming to do so, you must take him even from my altar and put him to death. Whoever strikes a father or mother shall be put to death. A kidnapper, whether he sells the person or the person is found in his possession, shall be put to death. Whoever curses a father or mother shall be put to death. When men quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone and with his fist, not mortally, but enough to put him in bed, the one who struck the blow shall be acquitted, provided the other can get up and walk around with the help of his staff. Still, he must compensate him for his recovery time and make provision for his complete healing. When someone strikes his male and female slave with a rod so that the slave dies under his hand, the act shall certainly be avenged. If, however, the slave survived for a day or two, he is not to be punished, since the slave is his own property. When men have a fight and hurt a pregnant woman so that she suffers a miscarriage, but no further injury, the guilty one shall be fined as much as the woman's husband demand of him, and he shall pay in the presence of the judges. But if an injury ensues, you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, bone for bone, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. When someone strikes his man on the female slave in the eye and destroys the use of the eye, he shall let the slave go free in the compensation for the eye. If he knock out the tooth of his male or female slave, he shall let the slave go free in compensation for the tooth. When an ox gores a man and a woman to death, the ox must be stoned. Its meat may not be eaten. The owner of the ox, however, shall be free of blame. But if an ox was previously in the habit of goring people and its owner, though warn it, would not watch it, should it then kill a man and a woman, not only must the ox be stoned, but its owner also must be put to death. If, however, a fine is imposed on him, he must pay in the ransom for his life whatever amount is imposed on him. This ordinance applies if it is a boy or girl that the ox gores. But if it is a man and a female slave that it is gores, he must pay the owner of the slave 30 shekels of the silver, and the ox must be stoned. Property damage. When someone uncovers or digs a cistern and does not cover it over again, should an ox or the donkey fall into it, the owner of the cistern must make the good by restoring the value of the animal to its owner, but the dead animal he may keep. When one man's ox hurts another ox and it dies, they shall sell the live ox and divide this money as well as the dead animal equally between them. But if it was known that ox was previously in the habit of the goring and its owner would not watch it, he must make a full restitution. An ox for an ox, but the dead animal he may keep. When someone steals an ox or sheep and slaughters or sells it, he shall restore 5 oxen for the 1 ox and 4 sheep for the 1 sheep. Exodus chapter 22. If a thief is caught in the act of the housebreaking and beaten to death, there is no blood guilt involved. But if afterwards he is thus beaten, there is blood guilt, he must make a full restitution. If he has nothing, he shall be sold to pay for his theft. If what he stole is found alive in his possession, be it an ox, a donkey, or a sheep, he shall make a 2-fold restitution. When someone causes a field on the vineyard to be grazed over by sending his cattle to graze in another field, he must make a restitution with the best produce of his own field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out, catch onto thorn bushes and consumes shocked grain, standing grain, or the field itself, the one who started the forest fire must make a full restitution. Trust and loans. When someone gives money to article to another for safekeeping and they are stolen from the latter houses, the thief, if caught, must make a 2-fold restitution. If the thief is not caught, the owner of the house shall be brought to God to swear that he himself did not lay hands on his neighbor's properties. In every case of dishonest appropriation, whether it be about an ox or a donkey or a sheep or a garment or anything else that has disappeared, where another claims that the thing is his, the claim of the both parties shall be brought before God. The one whom God convicts must make a twofold restitution to the other. When someone gives an ass, an ox, or a sheep and any others to another for safekeeping, if it dies or his maimed or snatched away without anyone witnessing the fact, there shall be an oath before the God between two of them that the guardian did not lay hands on his neighbor's property. The owner must accept the oath, and no restitution is to be made. But if the guardian has actually stolen from it, then he must make a restitution to the owner. If it has been killed by a wild beast, let him bring it as evidence. He need not make a restitution for the mangled animals. When someone borrows an animal from a neighbor, if it is maimed or dies while the owner is not present, that one must make a restitution. But if the owner is present, that one need not make a restitution. If it was hired, this was covered by the price of its hire. Social laws. When a man seduces a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall make her his wife by paying the bride price. If her father refused to give her to him, he must still pay him the bride price for virgins. You shall not let a woman who practices socially alive. Anyone who lies with an animal shall be put to death. Whoever sacrifices to any god except to the Lord alone shall be put under the ban. You shall not oppress and afflict the resident alien, for you were once alien residing in the land of the Egypt. You shall not wrong any widow or orphans. If ever you wrong them and they cry out to me, I will surely listen to their cry. My wrath will flare, and I will kill you with the sword, and then your own wives will be widows, and your children orphans. If you lend money to my people, the poor among you, you must not be like a money lender. You must not demand interest from them. If you take your neighbor's cloak as a prize, you shall return to him before sunset. For this is his only covering, it is the cloak for his body. What will he sleep in? If he cry out to me, I will listen, for I am compassionate. You shall not despise God, nor curse a leader of your peoples. You shall not delay the offering of your harvest and your pressed. You shall give me the firstborn of your sons. You must do the same with your oxen and your sheep. For 7 days the firstling may stay with its mother, but on the 8th days you must give it to me. You shall be a people sacred to me, flesh torn to pieces in the field you shall not eat. You must throw it to the dogs. Exodus chapter 23. You shall not repeat the first report. Do not join your hand with the wicked to be a witness supporting violence. You shall not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When testifying in a lawsuit, you shall not follow the crowd in perverting justice. You shall not favor the poor in a lawsuit. When you come upon your enemy ox on the donkey going astray, you must see it that it is returned. When you notice the donkey of the one who hates you lying down under its burden, you should not desert him. You must help him with it. You shall not pervert the justice for the needy among you in a lawsuit. You shall keep away from anything dishonest. The innocent and the just you shall not put to death, for I will not acquit the guilty. Never take a bride, for bride blinds the clear-sighted and destroys the words of the just. You shall not oppress the resident alien. You well know how it feels to be an alien, since you were once alien yourselves in the land of the Egypt. Religious laws. For 6 years you may sow your land and gather in its produce, but the 7 years you shall let the land lie until then the fallows. that the poor of your people may eat of it, and their leftovers the wild animals may eat. So also shall you do in regard to your vineyard and your olive groves. For 6 days you may do your work, but on the 7 days you must rest, that your ox and your donkey may have rest, and that the son of your maidservant and the rest of the elderly may be refreshed. Give heed to all that I have told you. You shall not mention the name of any other god. It shall not be heard from your lips. 3 times a year you shall celebrate the Purim feast to me. You shall keep the feast of the unleavened bread. As I have commanded you, you must eat unleavened bread for 7 days at the appointed time in the month of the Abib. For it was then that you came out of Egypt. No one shall appear before me empty-handed. You shall also keep the feast of the grain harvest with the first fruit of the crop that you sow in the field, and find the feast of the ingathering at the end of the year, when you collect your produce from the fields. 3 times a year shall all your men appear before the Lord God. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with anything irrelevant, nor shall the fat of my feast be kept overnight till the next day. The choicest first fruit your soul you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Reward of the fidelities. See, I am sending an angel before you to guard you on the way and bring you to the place I have prepared. Be attentive to him and obey him. Do not rebel against him, for he will not forgive your sin. My authority is within him. If you obey him and carry out all I tell you, I will be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foes. My angel will go before you and bring you to me, Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Canaanite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, and I will wipe them out. Therefore you shall not bow down to their God and serve them, nor shall you act as they do. Rather you must demolish them and smash their sacred stones. You shall serve the Lord your God, then he will bless your food and drink, and I will remove sickness from your midst. No woman in your land will be barren or miscarry, and I will give you a full span of the life. I will have the terror of my precede you, so that I will throw into the panic every nation you reach. I will make all your enemies turn from you in flight. And ahead of you I will send the Hanit to drive the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite out of your way. But I will not drive them all out before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the wild animals multiply against you. Little by little I drive them out before you until you have grown numerous enough to take possession of the land. I will set your boundaries from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the Euphrates. All who dwell in this land I will hand over to you, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall not make a covenant with them or their gods. They must not live in your land, for if you serve their God, this will become snare to you. Exodus chapter 24, Ratification of Covenant. Moses himself was told to come up to the Lord, you and Aaron with Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of the Israel. You shall bow down at a distance. Moses alone is to come close to the Lord, the others shall not come close, and the people shall not come up with them. When Moses came to people and rewrited all the words and the ordinance of the Lord, they all answered with one voice, "We will do everything that the Lord has told us." Moses then wrote down all the words of the Lord, and rising early in the morning, he built at the foot of the mountain an altar and the 12 sacred stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. Then having sent the young men of the Israelites to offer burnt offering and sacrifice young bulls as a communion offering to the Lord, Moses took a half of the blood and put it in large bowls, the other half he spread on the altars. Taking the book of the covenant, he read it aloud to the people, who answered, "All that the Lord has said, we will hear and do." Then he took the blood and spread it on the people, saying, "This is the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you according to all these words." Moses then went up with Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders of the Israel. And they beheld the God of Israel under his feet. There appeared to the sapphire tile work as clear as the sky itself. Yet he did not lay a hand on these chosen Israelites. They saw God, and they ate and drank. Moses on the mountain. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain, and while you are there, I will give you the stone tablet on which I have written the commandment intended for their instruction." So Moses set out with Joshua, his assistant, and went up to the mountain of the God. He told the elders, "Wait here for us until we return to you, Aaron and who are with you. Anyone with a complaint should approach them." Moses went up the mountain, then the cloud covered the mountain. The glory of the Lord settled upon Mount Sinai. The cloud covered it for 6 days, and on the 7th day he called to Moses from the midst of the cloud. The Israelites, the glory of the Lord was seen as a consuming fire on the top of the mountain. But Moses entered into the midst of the cloud and went up on the mountain. He was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Exodus chapter 25, a collection of the materials. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to Israelites, let them receive a contribution for me. From each you shall receive the contribution that their hearts prompt them to give me. These are the contributions you shall accept from them: gold, silver, and bronze, violet, purple, and scarlet yarn, fine linen, and goat's hair, lambskin that dyed red, and tahar skins, acacia wood, oil for the light, spice for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, onyx stones and other gems for the mounting on the ephod and the breastpiece. They are to make a sanctuary for me, that I may dwell in their midst. According to all that I show you regarding the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of its furnishing, so you are to make it." Plan of the ark. You shall make an ark of the acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. Plate it inside and outside with the pure gold, and put a molding of the gold around the top of it. Cast the 4 gold rings and put them on the 4 supports of the ark, 2 rings on one side and 2 on opposite side. Then make poles of the acacia wood and plate them with gold. These poles you are put through the rings on the side of the ark for carrying it. They must remain in the rings of the ark and never be withdrawn. In the ark you are to put the covenant with which I will give you. You shall then make a cover of the pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. Make it to a cherubim of beaten gold for the 2 ends of the cover. Make one cherub at one end and the other at the other end, of one piece with the cover at each end. The cherubim shall have their wings spread out above, sheltering the cover with them. They shall face each other with their faces looking toward the cover. This cover you shall then place on top of the ark. In the ark itself you are to put the covenant which I will give you. There I'll meet you, and there from above the cover between the two cherubim on the ark of the covenant, I'll tell you all that I command you regarding the Israelites. The table. You shall also make a table of the acacia wood, 2 cubits long, a cubit wide, and a cubit and a half high. Braid it with pure gold and make a molding of gold around it. Make a frame for it, a hand breadth high, and make a molding of the gold around the frame. You shall also make 4 rings of the gold for it, and fasten them at the 4 corners, one at each leg. The rings shall be alongside the frame as a holder of the poles to carry the table. These poles for carrying the table you shall make of the acacia wood and braid with gold. You shall make its plate and cups as well as its pitchers and bowls for the pouring libations. Make them of the pure gold. On the table you shall always keep a showbread set before me. The menorah. You shall make a menorah of the pure beaten gold, each shaped and branched, with its cups and the knobs and the petals spring directly from it. 6 branches are to extend from each side, 3 branches on one side and 3 on the others. On one branch there are 3 cups shaped like an almond blossom, each with its knob and petals. On the opposite branch there are to be 3 cups shaped like an almond blossom, each with its knob and petals. So for the 6 branches that extend from menorah. On the menorah there are to be 4 cups shaped like an almond blossom with their knobs and petals. The 6 branches that go out from the menorah are to have a knob under its base. Their knobs and branches shall so spring from it that the whole will form a single piece of the pure beaten gold. You shall then make 7 lamps for it, and so set up the lamps that they give her their right on the space in front of the menorahs. These, as well as trimming shawls and trays, must be of pure gold. Use a talent of the pure gold for the menorah and all these utensils. See that you make them according to the pattern shown you on the mountains. Exodus chapter 26, the tent clothes. The dwelling itself you shall make out of the sheet woven of the fine linen, twinned and of the violet, purple and the scarlet yarn, with the cherubim embroidered on them. The length of each shall be 28 cubits, and the width 4 cubits. All the sheets shall be of the same size. 5 sheets are to sewed together edge to edge, and the same for the other 5. Make loops of the violet yarn along the edge of the end sheet in the one set, and the same along the edge of the end sheet in the other set. There are 50 loops along the edge of the end sheet in the first set, and 50 loops along the edge of the corresponding sheet in the second set, and so placed that the loops are directly opposite each other. Then make 50 clasps of the gold with which to join to set up the sheet, so that the dwelling forms one whole. Also make a sheet woven of the goat hair to be used as a tent covering over the dwelling. 11 such sheets are to be made. The length of each shall be 30 cubits, and the width 4 cubits. All 11 sheets shall be of the same size. Sew 5 of the sheets edge to edge into the one set, and the other 6 sheets into other set. Use the 6 sheets double at the front of the tent. Make 50 loops along the edge of the end sheet in one set, and 50 loops along the edge of the end sheet in the second set. Also make 50 bronze clasps and put them into loops to join tent into one whole. There will be an extra half sheet of the tent covering, which shall be allowed to hang down over the rear of the dwelling. Likewise, the sheet of the tent will have an extra cubit length to be left hanging down, one either side of the dwelling to protect it. Over the tent itself you shall make a covering of the ram skin dyed red, and above that a covering of the tahashi skins. You shall make a board of the acacia wood as a walls for the dwelling. The length of each board is to 10 cubits, and its width 1.5 cubits. Each board shall have 2 arms that shall serve to fasten the boards in a line. In this way all the boards of the dwelling are to be made. Set up the boards of the dwelling as follows: 20 boards on south side, with a 40 silver pedestal under the 20 boards, so that there are 2 pedestals under each board, as its 2 arms. 20 boards on the other side of the dwelling, the north side, with their 40 silver pedestals, 2 under each board. 6 boards per rear of the dwelling to the west, and 2 boards of the corner at the rear of the dwelling. These 2 shall be double at the bottom, and likewise double at the top to the first rings. That is how both boards in the corners are to be made. Thus there shall be in the rear 8 boards with their 16 silver pedestals, 2 pedestals under each board. Also make bars of the acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the dwelling, 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for those at the rear toward the west. The center bar at the middle of the boards shall reach across from end to end. Break the boards with gold and make gold rings on them as a holder for bars, which are also to be plated with gold. You shall erect the dwelling according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. You shall have a veil woven of the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn, and a fine linen twinned with the cherubim embroidered on it. It is to be hung on 4 gold-plated columns of the acacia wood, which shall have a hook of the gold and shall rest on a 4 silver pedestal. Hang the veil from clasps. The ark of the commandment you shall bring inside, behind this veil which divides the holy place from the holy of the holies. Set the propitiatory on the ark of the commandment in the holy of the holies. Outside the veil you shall place the table and the lampstand, the latter on the south side of the dwelling, opposite the table, which is to put on the north side. For the entrance of the tent, make a variegated curtain of the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn, and the fine linen twinned. Make 5 colors of the acacia wood for this curtain. Have them plated with gold with their hook of the gold. The cast 5 bronze pedestals for them. Exodus chapter 27, altar for the burnt offering. You shall make an altar of the acacia wood on the square, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. It shall be 3 cubits high. At the 4 corners make horns that are of the one piece with the altar. You shall then plate it with bronze. Make a pot for removing ashes, as well as shovels, basins, forks, and fire pans. All these utensils you shall make of bronze. Make for it grating bronze network. Make 4 bronze rings for it, 1 at each of its 4 corners. Put it down around the altar on the ground. This network is to be half as high as the altar. You shall also make poles of the acacia wood for the altar and plate them with bronze. These poles are to put through the rings so that they are on the either side of the altar when it is carried. Make the altar itself in the form of the hollow box, just as it was shown you on the mountain, so it is to be made. Court of the tabernacles. You shall also make a court for the tabernacle. On the south side the court shall have hangings of fine linen twinned 100 cubits long, with 20 columns and 20 pedestals of the bronze. The hooks and the bands on the columns shall be of silver. On the north side there shall be similar hangings 100 cubits long, with 20 columns and 20 pedestals of the bronze. The hooks of the bands on the columns shall be of silver. On the west side, across the width of the court, there shall be hangings 50 cubits long, with 10 columns and 10 pedestals. The width of the court on the east side shall be 50 cubits. On one side there shall be hangings to the extent of the 15 cubits with 3 columns and 3 pedestals. On the other side there shall be hangings to the extent of the 15 cubits with 3 columns and 3 pedestals. At the gate of the court there shall be the variegated curtain 20 cubits long, woven of the violet, purple, and the scarlet yarn and the fine linen twine. You shall have 4 columns and 4 pedestals. All the columns around the court shall have the bands around the hooks of the silver and the pedestal of the bronze. The court is to be 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 50 cubits high. Fine linen twine must be used, and the pedestal must be of bronze. All the fitting of the tabernacle, whatever be their use, as well as all its tent pegs and all the tent pegs of the court must be of bronze. Oil for the lamps. You shall command the Israelites to bring you clear oil of the crushed olives to be used for the light, so that you may keep lamps burning always. From evening to morning, Aaron and his sons shall maintain them before the Lord in tent of the meeting, outside the veil which hangs in front of the covenant. This shall be a perpetual statute for the Israelites throughout their generation. Exodus chapter 28, the priestly vestments. Have your brother Aaron and with him his son brought to you from among the Israelites, that they may be my priest. Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. For the glorious adornment of your brother Aaron, you shall have a sacred vestment made. Therefore tell the various artisans whom I have endowed with skill to make a vestment for Aaron to consecrate him as my priest. These are the vestments they shall make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a brocade tunic, a turban, and sash. In making these sacred vestments which your brother Aaron and his sons are to wear in serving as my priest, they shall use gold, violet, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linens. The ephod and the breastpiece. The ephod they shall make of the gold thread and the violet, purple, and the scarlet yarn, embroidered on the clothes on the fine linen twined. You shall have a pair of the shoulder straps joined to it to upper ends. The embroidered belt of the ephod shall extend out from it, and like it be made of the gold thread of the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn of the fine linen twined. Get 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the name of the sons of the Israel, 6 of their name on one stone, and the name of the remaining 6 on the other stone, in the order of their births. As a gem color engraved the seal, so shall you have 2 stones engraved with the name of the son of the Israel, and then mounted in gold of filigree work. Set these 2 stones on the shoulder strap of the ephod as a memorial stone of the son of the Israel. Thus Aaron shall bear the name of his sword as a reminder before the Lord. Make a filigree rosettes of gold, as well as 2 chains of the pure gold, twisted like cords, and fasten the cord like a chain to the filigree rosettes. The breastpiece of the decision you shall also have made embroidered like the ephod with gold thread and the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn on clothes of the fine linen twined. It is to be square when folded, double, a span high and a span wide. On it you shall mount 4 rows of the precious stones. In the first row a carnelian or topaz and an emerald. In the second row, a garnet, a sapphire, and a beryl. In the third row, jacinth, and agate, and amethyst. In fourth row, the chrysolite, an onyx, and the jasper. These stones are to be mounted in gold filigree work. 12 of them to match the name of the son of Israel, each stone engraved like a seal of the name of one of the 12 tribes. When the chain of the pure gold, the twist like cords have been made for the breastpiece, you shall then make 2 rings of the gold for it and fasten them to the 2 upper ends of the breastpiece. The gold cords are then to be fastened to the 2 rings at the upper ends of the breastpiece. The other 2 ends of the cords being fastened in front to the 2 filigree rosettes, which are attached to the shoulder straps of the ephod. Make 2 other rings of the gold and put them on 2 low ends of the breastpiece, on its edge that faces the ephod. Then make 2 more rings of the gold and fasten them to the bottom of the shoulder straps next to the rail till they join the ephod in front, just above its embroidered belt. Violet ribbons shall bind the rings of the breastpiece to the rings of the ephod, so that the breastpiece will stay right above the embroidered belt of the ephod and not swing loose from it. Whenever Aaron enters the sanctuary, he will thus bear the name of the son of Israel on the breastpiece of the decision over his heart as a constant reminder before the Lord. In this breastpiece of the decision you shall put the Urim and the Thummim, that they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus he shall always bear the decision for the Israelite over his heart in the presence of the Lord. Other vestments. The robe of the ephod you shall make entirely of the violet materials. It shall have an opening for the head in the center, and around this opening there shall be a service woven as at the opening of the shirt to keep it from being torn. At the hem at the bottom you shall make a pomegranate woven of the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn, and the fine linen twinned with gold bells between them. A gold bell pomegranate, a gold bell of the pomegranate all around the hem of the robe. Aaron shall wear it when ministering, that its sound may be heard as he enters and leaves the Lord's presence in the sanctuary, else he will die. You shall also make a plate for pure gold and engrave on it, as on the seal engraving, sacred to the Lord. This plate is to be tied over the turban with the violet ribbon in such a way that it rests on the front of the turban. Over Aaron's forehead, since Aaron bears whatever guilt the Israelites may incur in consecrating any of their sacred gifts, this plate must always be over his forehead, so that they may find favor with the Lord. The tunic of the fine linen shall be brocaded, the turban shall be made of the fine linen, the sash shall be of the variegated work. Likewise, for the glorious adornment of the Aaron's sons, you shall have a tunic and the sashes and the skull caps made for glorious splendor. With these you shall clothe your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint and install them, consecrating them as my priest. You must also make linen pants for them to cover their naked flesh from their loins to their thighs. Aaron and his sons shall wear them whenever they go into tent of the meeting or approach the altar to the minister in the sanctuary. Lest they incur guilt and die, this shall be a perpetual ordinance for him and for his descendants. Exodus chapter 29. Consecration of priest. This is the rite you shall perform in consecrating them as my priest. Procure a young bull and 2 unblemished lambs. With bran and flour, make unleavened cakes mixed with oil and unleavened wafers spread with oil, and put them in basket. Take the basket of them along with the bull and the 2 lambs. Aaron and his sons you shall also bring to the entrance of the tent of the meeting, and there wash them with water. Take the vestment and clothe Aaron with the tunic, the robe of the ephod itself, and the breastpiece, fastening the embroidered belt of the ephod around him. Put the turban on his head, the sacred diadem on the turban. Then take the anointing oil and pour it on his head and anoint him. Bring forward his sons also and clothe them with the tunics. Gird them with the sashes and tie the skull cap on them. Thus shall the priesthood be theirs by the perpetual statute. And thus shall he install Aaron and his sons. Installation sacrifice. Now bring forward the bull in front of the tent of the meeting. There Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. Then slaughter the bull before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of the meetings. Take some of its blood and with your finger put it on the horns of the altar. All the rest of the blood you shall pour out at the base of the altar. All the fat that covers its inner organs, as well as the lobe of its liver and its 2 kidneys, together with the fat that is on them, you shall take and burn on the altar. But the meat and hide and the dung of the bull you must burn up outside the camp, since this is the purification offerings. Then take one of the rams, and after Aaron and his sons have laid their hands on its head, slaughter it. The blood you shall take and splash on all the sides of the altars. Cut the ram into pieces. You shall wash its inner organs and the shanks, and put them with the pieces and with the head. Then you shall burn entire ram on the altar, since it burnt offering, sweet-smelling oblation to the Lord. After this take the other ram, and when Aaron and his sons have laid their hands on its head, slaughter it. Some of its blood you shall take and put on the tip of the Aaron's right ear, and on the tips of his sons' right ears, and on the thumbs of their right hands, and the great toes of their right feet. Spread the rest of the blood on all sides of the altar. Then take some of the blood that is on the altar, together with some of the anointing oil, and sprinkle this on Aaron and his vestment, as well as on his sons their vestments, that he and his sons and their vestment may be sacred. Now from this ram you shall take its fat, its fatty tail, the fat that covers its inner organs, the lobe of the liver, its 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them, and its right thigh, since this is the ram for installation. Then out of the basket of the unleavened food that you have set before the Lord, you shall take one of the loaves of the bread, one of the cakes made with oil, and one of the wafers. All these things you shall put into the hands of Aaron and his sons, so that they may raise them as an unelevated offering before the Lord. After you receive them back from their hands, you shall burn them on the top of the burnt offering on the altar as a sweet-smelling oblation to the Lord. Finally, take the briskets of the Aaron installation ram and raise it as an elevated offering before the Lord. This is to be your own portion. Thus shall you set aside the briskets kit of the whatever elevated offering is raised, as well as the die of the whatever contribution is raised up. Whether this be the installation realm or anything else belong to the Aaron or to his sons. Such things are due to Aaron and his sons from the Israelites by perpetual statute as a contribution. From their communion offering to Israelites they shall make a contribution, their contribution to the Lord. The sacred vestment of the Aaron shall be passed down to his sons after him, that in them they may be anointed and installed. The son who succeeds him as a priest and who is to enter the tent of the meeting to minister in the sanctuary shall be clothed with them for 7 days. You shall take the installation ram and boil its meat in a holy place. At the entrance of the tent of the meeting, Aaron and his sons shall eat the meat of the ram and the bread that is in the basket. They themselves are to eat of these things by which atonement was made at their installation and the consecration. But no unauthorized person may eat of them, since they are sacred. If some of the meat of the installation sacrifice or some of the bread remains over on the next day, this remnant you must burn up. It is not to be eaten, since it is sacred. Carry out all these commands in regard to Aaron and his sons, just as I have given them to you. 7 days you shall spend installing them. Sacrificing a bull each day as a purification offering to make atonement. Thus you shall purify the altar by purging it, and you shall anoint it in order to consecrate it. 7 days you shall spend in the purging the altar and in consecrating it. Then the altar will be most sacred, and whatever touched it will become sacred. Now this is what you shall regularly offer on the altar: 2 yearling lambs as the sacrifice is the best for each day. One lamb in the morning and the other lamb at the evening twilight. With the first lamb there shall be 1/10 of the ephah of the brown flour mixed with the fourth of the hin of the oil of the crushed olives, and as its libation a fourth of the hin of the wine. The other lamb you shall offer at the evening twilight with the same grain offering and the libation as in the morning. You shall offer this as a sweet-smelling oblation to the Lord. Throughout your generation, this regular burnt offering shall be made before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of the meeting, where I will meet you and speak to you. There at the altar I will meet you, Israelite hands, it will be made sacred by my glories. Thus I will consecrate the tent of the meeting and the altar, just as I also consecrate Aaron and his sons to be my priest. I will dwell in the midst of the Israelites and will be their God. They shall know that I, the Lord, am the God who brought them out of the land of Egypt, so that I, the Lord their God, might dwell among them. Exodus chapter 30. Altar of the incense. For burning incense you shall make an altar of the acacia wood, with a square surface a cubit long, a cubit wide, and 2 cubits high, with horns that are of the one piece with it. Its grate on top, its walls on all the 4 sides, and its horns you shall plate with pure gold. Put a gold molding around it. Underneath the molding you shall put gold rings, 2 on one side and 2 on the opposite side, as holders for the poles used in carrying it. Make the poles too of acacia wood and plate them with gold. This altar you are the place in front of the veil that hangs before the ark of the covenant, where I will meet you. On it Aaron shall burn the fragrant incense morning after morning when he prepares the lamps. And again in the evening twilight when he lighted the lamps, he shall burn incense throughout your generation. This shall be the regular incense offering before the Lord. On this altar you shall not offer up any profane incense or any burnt offering or grain offering, nor shall you pour out a libation upon it. Once a year Aaron shall purge it once throughout your generation. He is to purge it once a year with the blood of the atoning purification offering. This altar is most sacred to the Lord. Census tax. The Lord also told Moses, when you take a census of the Israelites who are to be enrolled, each one as he is enrolled shall give the Lord a ransom for his life, so that no plague may come upon them for being enrolled. This is what everyone who is enrolled must pay, a half shekel according to the standard of the sanctuary shekel, 20 gerahs to the shekel, a half shekel contribution to the Lord. Everyone who is enrolled of the 20 years of the Muah must give the contribution to the Lord. The rich need not give Muah, nor shall the poor give less than a half shekel in this contribution to the Lord, to pay ransom for their lives. When you receive this ransom money from the Israelites, you shall donate it to the service of the tent of the meeting, that there it may be a reminder of the Israelites before the Lord of the ransom paid for their lives. The basin. The Lord told Moses, for ablution you shall make a bronze basin with a bronze stand, place it between the tent of the meeting and the altar, and put water in it. Aaron and his sons shall use it in washing their hands and feet. When they are about to enter the tent of the meeting, they must wash with water, lest they die. Likewise, when they approach the altar to minister, to offer an oblation to the Lord, they must wash their hands and feet, lest they die. This shall be a perpetual statute for him and his descendants throughout their generation. The anointing oils. The Lord told Moses, take the finest spices, 500 shekels of the free-flowing mirrors, half that amount, that is 250 shekels of the fragrant cinnamon, 250 shekels of the fragrant canis, 500 shekels of the cassia, all according to the standard of the sanctuary shekel, together with the hin of the olive oils. And brand them into sacred anointing oil, perfumed ointment expertly prepared with this sacred anointing oil. You shall anoint the tent of the meeting and the ark of the covenant, the table and all its utensils, the menorah and its utensils, the altar of the incense, and the altar for burnt offering with all its utensils, and the basin with its stand. When you have consecrated them, they shall be most sacred. Whatever touches them shall be sacred. Aaron and his sons you shall also anoint and consecrate as my priest. Tell the Israelites, as a sacred anointing oil, this shall belong to the throughout your generations. It may not be used in any ordinary anointing of the body, nor may you make any other oil of the like mixtures. It is sacred and shall be treated as sacred by you. Whoever prepares a perfume like this, or whoever puts any of this on an unauthorized person, shall be cut off from his peoples. The incense. The Lord told Moses, take this aromatic substance, storax and onycha and galbanums. These and pour frankincense in equal parts. and blend them into incense. This fragrant powder, expertly prepared, is to be salted and so kept pure and sacred. Grind some of it into fine dust and put this before the covenant in tent of the meeting, where I will meet you. This sense shall be treated as most sacred by you. You may not make incense of the right mixture for yourselves. You must treat it as sacred to the Lord. Whoever makes an incense like this for his own enjoyment of its fragrance shall be cut off from his people. Exodus chapter 31, Choice of the Artisans. The Lord said to Moses, See, I have singled out the Bezalel, son of the Uri, son of the Hur, of the tribe of the Judah. And I have filled him with the divine spirit of the skill and understanding and the knowledge in every craft, in the production of the embroidery, in making things of the gold, the silver, and the bronze, in cutting and mounting precious stones, in carving wood, and in every other craft. As his assistant, I myself have appointed Oholiab, son of the Ahishamar, of the tribe of the Dan. I have also endowed all the experts with the necessary skill to make all the things I have commanded you. The tent, meaning the Ark of the Covenant with its cover, all the furnishing of the tent, the table with its utensils, the poor gold, the memorials with all its utensils, the altar of the incense, the altar for burnt offering with all its utensils, the basin with its stand, the service clothes, the sacred vestment for Aaron the priest, the vestment for his sons in their ministries, the anointing oil and the fragrant incense for the sanctuary, according to all I have commanded you, so shall they do. Sabbath laws. The Lord said to Moses, You must also tell the Israelites, Keep my Sabbath, for that is to be a sign between you and me throughout the generations, to show that it is I, the Lord, who make you a holy. Therefore you must keep the Sabbath, for it is holiness for you. Whoever desecrates it shall be put to death. If anyone does work on that day, that person must be cut off from the peoples. 6 days there are for doing work, but the 7 days is the Sabbath of the complete rest, holy to the Lord. Anyone who does work on the Sabbath day shall be put to death. So shall the Israelites observe the Sabbath, keeping it throughout their generation as an everlasting covenant. Between me and the Israelites it is to be an everlasting sign, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, but on the 7th day he rested at his ease. When the Lord had finished speaking to Moses on the mountain Sinai, he gave him 2 tablets of the covenant, the stone tablet inscribed by God's own finger. Exodus chapter 32, Golden Calves. When the people saw that Moses was delayed in the coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said to him, Come, make us a God who will go before us. As for that man Moses who brought us out of the land of Egypt, who we do not know what has happened to him. Aaron replied, Take out the golden earring that your wives, your sons, and your daughters are wearing, and bring them to me. So all the people took off their earring and brought them to Aaron. He received their offering, their fashioning it with a tool made of molten calves. Then they cried out, These are your God, Israel, who brought you out from the land of Egypt. On seeing this, Aaron built an altar in front of the calf and proclaimed, Tomorrow is on the feast of the Lord. Early the next day, the people sacrificed the burnt offering and brought the communion sacrifice. Then they sat down to eat and drink and rose up to the levels. Then the Lord said to Moses, Go down at once, because your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, have acted fortress. They have quickly turned aside from the way I commanded them, making for themselves a molten calf and bowing down to it, sacrificing to it and crying out, "These are your God, Israel, who brought you out from the land of Egypt." I have seen these people, how stiff-necked they are, continued the Lord to Moses. "Let me alone then, that my anger may burn against them to consume them, then I will make of you a great nation." But Moses implored the Lord his God, saying, "Why, O Lord, should your anger burn against your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a strong hand? Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent he brought them out, that he might kill them in the mountain and wipe them off the face of the earth? Turn from your burning wrath, change your mind about punishing your peoples. Remember your servant Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and how you swore to them by your own self, saying, I'll make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. And all this land that I promised, I will give your descendants as their perpetual heritage." So the Lord changed his mind about the punishment he had threatened to inflict on his peoples. Moses then turned and came down the mountain with 2 tablets of the covenant in his hands, tablets that were written on both sides, front and back. The tablets were made by God. The writing was the writing of the God engraved on the tablets. Now when Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, "That sounds like a battle in the camp." But Moses answered, "It is not the noise of the victory, it is not the noise of the defeat. The sound I hear is singing." As he drew near the camp, he saw the calf and the dancing. Then Moses' anger burned, and he threw the tablet down and broke them on the base of the mountain. Taking the calf they had made, he burned it in the fire and then ground it down to the powder, which he scattered on the water and made Israelite drinks. Moses asked Aaron, "What did these people do to you that you should lead them into a grave sin?" Aaron replied, "Do not let my Lord be angry. You know how the people are prone to evils. They say to me, 'Make us a god to go before us.' As for this man Moses who brought us out of the land of Egypt, who do not know what has happened to him." So I told them, "Whoever is wearing gold, take it off." They gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and this calf came out. Moses saw that the people were running wild because Aaron had lost control, to the secret delight of their foes. Moses stood at the gate of the camp and shouted, "Whoever is for the Lord, come to me." All the Levites then rallied to him. And he told them, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, each of you put the sword on your hips, go back and forth through the camp, from gate to gate, and kill your brothers, your friends, your neighbors." The Levites did as Moses had commanded, and that day about 3,000 of the people fell. Then Moses said, "Today you are installed as a priest for the Lord, for you went against your own sons and brothers to bring a blessing upon yourselves this day." Atonement. On the next day, Moses said to people, "You have committed a grave sin. Now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I may be able to make atonement for your sin." So Moses returned to the Lord and said, "This people has committed a grave sin in making God of gold for themselves. Now if you would only forgive their sin, but if you will not, that blot me out of the book that you have written." The Lord answered Moses, "Only the one who has sinned against me will I blot out of my books. Now go and read the people where I have told you. See, my angel will go before you. When it is time for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin. Thus the Lord struck the people for making the calves, the one that Aaron made. Exodus chapter 33. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Go, you and the people whom you have brought up from the land of Egypt are to go up from here to a land about which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will give it to your descendants, driving out the Canaanite, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and Jebusite. I will send the angel before you to a landing flowing with milk and honey, but I myself will not go up in your company, because you are the stiff-necked people, otherwise I might consume you on the way." When the people heard this painful news, they mourned, and no one wore any ornament. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites, you are stiff-necked people, were to go up in your company even for a moment. I would destroy you now up with your ornament. Let me think what to do with you." So from Mount Horeb onward, the Israelites stripped off their ornament. Moses' intimacy with God. Moses used to pitch a tent outside the camp at some distance. It was called the tent of the meeting. Anyone who wished to consult the Lord would go to the tent of the meeting outside the camp. Whenever Moses went out to the tent, the people would all rise and stand at the entrance of their own tent, watching Moses until he entered the tent. As Moses entered the tent, the column of the cloud would come down and stand at its entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses. On seeing the column of the cloud stand at the entrance of the tent, all the people would rise and bow down at the entrance of their own tent. The Lord used to speak to Moses face to face as a person speaks to a friend. Moses would then return to camp, but his young assistant Joshua, son of Nun, never left the tent. Moses said to the Lord, "See, you are telling me, lead these people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, you are my intimate friend. You have found favor with me. Now if I have found favor with you, please let me know your ways, so that in knowing you, I may continue to find favor with you. See, this nation is indeed your own people." The Lord answered, "I myself will go along to give you a rest." Moses replied, "If you are not going yourself, do not make us go up from here. For how can it be known that I and you people have found favor with you, except by your going with us? Then we, your people, and I will be singled out from every other people on the surface of the earth." The Lord said to Moses, "This request too, which you have made, I will carry out, because you have found favor with me, and you are my intimate friend." Then Moses said, "Please let me see your glory." The Lord answered, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, before you. I who show favor to whom I will, I who grant mercy to whom I will. But you cannot see my face, for no one can see me and live. Here, continued the Lord, is a place near me where you shall station yourself on the rock. When my glory passes, I will set you in the cleft of the rock and will cover you with my hands until I passed by. Then I will remove my hand so that you may see my back, but my face may not be seen." Exodus chapter 34, Religious Laws, Renewal of the Tablet. The Lord said to Moses, "Cut 2 stone tablets like the former, that I may write on them the words which were on the former tablet that you broke." Get ready for tomorrow morning when you are to go up Mountain Sinai and there present yourself to me on the top of the mountain. No one shall come up with you, and let no one even be seen on any part of the mountain. Even the sheep and the cattle are not to graze in front of this mountain. Moses then cut 2 stone tablets like the former, and early the next morning he went up the mountain Sinai as the Lord had commanded him, taking in his hand the 2 stone tablets. The Lord came down in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name Lord. So the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in love and fidelities, continuing his love for 1,000 generations and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin, yet not declaring the guilty guiltless, but bring punishment for their parents' wickedness on children and children to the 3rd and the 4th generation. Moses at once knelt and bowed down to the ground. Then he said, If I found favor with you, Lord, please, Lord, come along in our company. This is indeed a stiff-necked people, yet pardon our wickedness and sins, and claim us as your own. Religious laws. The Lord said, Here is the covenant I will make before all your people. I will perform marvels never before done in any nation, anywhere on earth, so that all the people among whom you live may see the work of the Lord. Awe-inspiring are the deeds I will perform with you. As for you, observe what I am commanding you today. See, I am about to drive out before you the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and Jebusite. Take care not to make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land that you are to enter, lest they become a snare among you. Tear down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Asherahs. You shall not bow down to any other god, for the Lord is jealous. His name is a jealous God. Do not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, else when they prostitute themselves with their God and sacrifice to them, one of them may invite you and you may partake of the sacrifice. When you take their daughter as wives for your sons, and their daughters prostitute themselves with their God, they will make your son do the same. You shall not make for yourselves molten gods. You shall keep the festival of the unleavened bread for 7 days at the appointed time in the month of the Abib. You are to eat the unleavened bread as I commanded you, for in the month of the Abib you came out of Egypt. To me belongs every male that opens the wombs among all your livestock, whether in the herds and in the flock. The first ring of the donkey you shall redeem with the lamb. If you do not redeem it, you must break its neck. The firstborn among your sons you shall redeem. No one shall appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you may labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. Even during the season of the plowing and the harvesting you must rest. You shall keep the feast of the week with the first fruit of the wheat harvest, likewise the feast of the ingathering at the close of the years. 3 times a year all your men shall appear before the Lord God of Israel. Since I will drive out the nations before you and enlarge your territories, no one will covet your land when you go up 3 times a year to appear before the Lord your God. You shall not offer me the blood of the sacrifice with anything leavened, nor shall the sacrifice of the Passover feast be kept overnight for the next day. The choicest first fruit of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Radiance of the Moses' face. Then the Lord said to Moses, write down these words, for in the accordance with these words I have made the covenant with you and with Israel. So Moses was there with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights without eating any food and drinking any water. And he wrote on the tablet the words of the covenant, the 10 words. As Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the covenant in his hands, he did not know that the skin of his face had become radiant while he spoke with the Lord. When the Aaron, Dan, and the other Israelites saw Moses and noticed how radiant the skin of his face had become, they were afraid to come near him. Only after Moses called to them did Aaron and all the leaders of the community come back to him. Moses then spoke to them. Later all the Israelites came up to him, and he enjoyed on them all that the Lord had told him on the mountain Sinai. When Moses finished speaking with them, he put a veil over his face. Whenever Moses entered the presence of the Lord to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out again. On coming out, he would tell the Israelites all that he had been commanded. Then the Israelites would see the skin of Moses' face was radiant, so he would again put the veil over his face until he went in to speak with the Lord. Exodus chapter 35, Sabbath regulation. Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and said to them, these are the words the Lord has commanded to be observed. On 6th day, work may be done, but the 7 days shall be holy to you as the Sabbath of the complete rest to the Lord. Anyone who does work on that day shall be put to death. You shall not even light a fire in any of your dwelling on the Sabbath days, a collection of the materials. Moses said to the whole Israelite community, this is what the Lord has commanded. Receive from among your contribution for the Lord. Everyone as his heart prompts him shall bring as a contribution to the Lord gold, silver, and bronze, violet, purple, and scarlet yarn, fine linen, and goat hair, ram skin are dyed red, and the tahar skins, acacia woods, all for the right spice, for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, onyx stone and other gem for the mounting on the ephod and on the breastpiece. Call for artisan. Let every artisan among you come and make all the Lord has commanded. The tabernacle with its tent, its covering, its clasps, its frames, its bars, its columns, and its pedestals. The ark with its poles, the cover, and the curtain veil, the table with its bowls and all its utensils, and the showbread. The menorah with its utensils, the lamps, and the oil for the lights. The altar of the incense with its bowls, the anointing oil and the fragrant incense, the entrance curtain for the entrance of the tabernacles. The altar for the burnt offering with its bronze grating, its bowls and all its utensils, the basin with its stand. The hanging of the court with their column and the pedestal, the curtain for the gate of the court. The tent pegs for the tabernacle and for the court with their ropes. The service clothes for use in sanctuary, the sacred vestment for Aaron the priest, and the vestment for his sons in their ministry. The contribution. When the whole Israelite community left Moses' presence, all as their heart moved them and their spirit prompt brought the contribution to the Lord for the work of the tent of the meeting, for all its services and for the sacred vestments. Both the man and the woman, all as their heart prompted them, brought the brooches, earrings, rings, and necklaces, and the various other gold articles, everyone who could present an offering of the gold to the Lord. Everyone who happened to have a violet, purple, or scarlet yarn, fine linen, or goat hair, ram skin, dyed red, or the tahar skins brought them. Whoever could make a contribution of the silver and the bronze offered it to the Lord, and everyone who happened to have acacia wood for any part of the work brought it. All the women who were expert spinners brought the hand-spun violet, purple, and scarlet yarn and the fine linen threads. All the women, as their heart and skills moved them, spun goat hair. The tribal leaders brought the onyx stone and other gems for the mounting on the ephod and on the breastpiece, as well as spices and oil for the right anointing oil and the fragrant incense. Every Israelite man and woman brought to the Lord such a voluntary offering as they thought best for the various kind of the work which the Lord through Moses had commanded to be done. The artisans. Moses said to the Israelites, "See, the Lord has singled out the Bezalel, son of Uri, son of the Hur, of the tribe of the Judah, and has filled him with the divine spirit of the skill and the understanding and knowledge in every craft, in the production of the embroidery, in making things of the gold, silver, or bronze, in cutting and mounting precious stones, in the carving wood, and in every other craft. He has also given both him and the Oholiab, son of the Ahisamach, of the tribe of the Dan, the ability to teach others. He has endowed them with the skill to execute all type of the work, engraving, embroidering, the making of the variegated cloth of the violet, purple and scarlet yarn, and the fine linen thread, weaving, and all other arts and crafts." Exodus chapter 36. Bezalel therefore will set to work with the Oholiab and with all the artisans whom the Lord has endowed with skill and understanding in knowing how to do all the work for the service of the sanctuary, just as the Lord has commanded. Moses then called the Bezalel and the Oholiab and all the other artisans whom the Lord had endowed with skill, men whose hearts moved them to come and do the work. They received from Moses all the contribution which the Israelites had brought for the work to be done for the sanctuary service. Still, morning after morning, the people continued to bring their voluntary offering to Moses. Thereupon all the artisans who were doing the work for the sanctuary came from the work each was doing, and told Moses, "The people are bringing much more than is needed to carry out the work which the Lord has commanded us to do." Moses therefore ordered the proclamation to be made throughout the camp, "Let neither man nor the woman make any more contribution for the sanctuary." So the people stopped bringing their offerings. There was already enough at hand and more than enough to complete the work to be done: the tent, the clothes, and the coverings. The various artisans who were doing the work made the tabernacle with its tent sheet woven of the fine linen twinned, having cherubim embroidered on them with the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn. The length of each sheet was 28 cubits and the width 4 cubits. All the sheets were the same size. 5 of the sheets were joined together edge to edge, and the other 5 sheets likewise edge to edge. Loops of the violet yarn were made along the edge of the end sheet in the first set, and the same along the edge of the end sheet in the second set. 50 loops were thus put on the inner sheet, and the 50 loops on the inner sheet in the other set, with the loops directly opposite each other. The 50 clasps of the gold were made, with which the sheets were joined, so that the tabernacle formed one whole. Sheets of the goat hair were also woven as a tent over the tabernacles. 11 such sheets were made. The length of each sheet was 30 cubits and the width 4 cubits. All 11 sheets were the same size. 5 of these sheets were joined into one set and the other 6 sheets into other set. 50 loops were made along the edge of the end sheet in one set and 50 loops along the edge of the corresponding sheet in the other set. 50 bronze clamps were made with which the tent was joined so that it formed one horse. A covering for the tent was made of the ram's skin dyed red and above that covering of the tahash skins. The framework. The frames were made for the tabernacle acacia wood uprights. The length of each frame was 10 cubits and the width is 1.5 cubits. Each frame had 2 arms fastening them one to another. In this way, all the frames of the tabernacle were made. The frame for the tabernacle were made as follows: 20 frames on the south side, with a 40 silver pedestal under the 20 frames, 2 pedestals under each frame for each 2 arms. 20 frames on the other side of the tabernacle, the north side, with their 40 silver pedestals, 2 pedestals under each frame. At the rear of the tabernacle to the west, 6 frames were made, and 2 frames were made for the corners of the tabernacle at its rear. These were double at the bottom and likewise double at the top to the first ring. That is how both corner frames were made. Thus there were 8 frames with their 16 silver pedestals, 2 pedestals under each frame. Bars of the acacia wood were also made, 5 for the frame on one side of the tabernacles, 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for those at the rear to the west. The center bar at the middle of the frames was made to reach across from end to end. The frames were plated with gold, and the gold rings were made on them as a holder for the bars, which were also plated with gold. The veil. The veil was made of the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn and the fine linen twinned with a cherubim embroidered on it. 4 gold-plated columns of the acacia wood with gold hooks were made for it, and 4 silver pedestals were cast for them. The curtain for the entrance of the tent was made of the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn and of the fine linen twinned, woven in a variegated manner. Its 5 columns with their hooks as well as their capital and bands were plated with gold. Their 5 pedestals were of bronze. Exodus chapter 37, the Ark. Bezalel made the ark of the acacia wood 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. The inside and outside were plated with gold, and the molding of the gold was put around it. 4 gold rings were cast for its 4 supports, 2 rings on one side and 2 on the opposite side. Balls of the acacia wood were made and plated with gold. These balls were put through the rings on the side of the ark for carrying it. The cover was made of the pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. 2 cherubim of the beaten gold were made for the 2 ends of the cover. 1 cherub was at one end, the other at the other end, made of the one piece with the cover at each end. The cherubim had their wings spread out above, sheltering the cover. They faced each other with their faces looking toward the cover. The table. The table was made of the acacia wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and 1.5 cubits high. It was plated with the pure gold, and the molding of the gold was put around it. A frame a hand-breadth high was also put around it, with the molding of the gold around the frame. 4 rings of the gold were cast for it and fastened at the 4 corners, one at each legs. The rings were alongside the frame as the holder of the poles to carry the table. These poles for carrying the table were made of the acacia wood and plated with gold. The vessel that was set on the table, its plate and cups, as well as its pitcher and bowls for pouring libations, were made of pure gold. The menorah. The menorah was made of the pure beaten gold, its shaft and the branches, with its cups and the knobs and the petals spring directly from it. 6 branches extend from each side, 3 branches on one side and 3 on the others. On one branch there were 3 cups shaped like an almond blossom, each with its knob and petals. On the opposite branch there were 3 cups shaped like an almond blossom, each with its knob and petals. And so far the 6 branches that extended from the menorah. On the menorah there were 4 cups shaped like an almond blossom with their knob and petals. The 6 branches that went out from the menorah had a knob under each pair. The knob and the branches so sprang from it that the whole of the formed but a single piece of the pure beaten gold. Its 7 lamps as well as its trimming, shawls, and trays were made of pure gold. A talent of the pure gold was used for the menorah and its various utensils. The altar of the incense. The altar of the incense was made of the acacia wood on a scale a cubit long, a cubit wide, and 2 cubits high, having horns that sprang directly from it. Its gate on top, its walls on all the 4 sides, and its horns were plated with pure gold, and gold molding was put around it. Underneath the molding, gold rings were placed, 2 on one side and 2 on the opposite side, as a holder for the poles used in carrying it. The poles too were made of the acacia wood and plated with gold. The sacred anointing oil and the fragrant incense were prepared in their pure form by a perfumer. Exodus chapter 38, the altar for the burnt offering. The altar for the burnt offering was made of acacia wood on scale 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. Its height was 3 cubits. At the 4 corners, horns were made that sprang directly from the altar. It was then plated with bronze. All the utensils of the altar, the pots, shovels, basin, fork, and fire pans were likewise made of bronze. A grating of bronze network was made for the altar and placed around it on the ground half as high as the altar itself. 4 rings were cast for the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders for the poles, which were made of the acacia wood and plated with bronze. The poles were put through the rings on the other sides of the altar for the carrying it. The altar was made in the form of the hollow box. The bronze basin with its bronze stand was made from the mirror of the woman who served at the entrance of the tent of the meeting, the court of the tabernacles. The court was made as follows. On the south side, the hanging of the court were of fine linen twinned 100 cubits long, with the 20 columns and the 20 pedestals of bronze, the hooks and the bands of the columns being of the silver. On the north side there were similar hangings 100 cubits long, with 20 columns and 20 pedestals of the bronze. The hooks and the bands of the columns were of the silver. On the west side there were hangings 50 cubits long, with 10 columns and 10 pedestals. The hook and the bands of the columns were of silver. On the east side the court was 50 cubits. On one side there were hanging to the extent of the 15 cubits, with 3 columns and 3 pedestals. On the other side, beyond the gate of the court, there were likewise hanging to the extent of the 15 cubits, with the 3 columns and 3 pedestals. The hanging on all sides of the court were woven of the fine linen twinned. The pedestal of the column were of the bronze, while the hooks and the bands of the column were of silver. The capital were silver plated, and all the column of the court were banded with silver. At the gate of the court there was a variegated curtain woven of the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn, and the fine linen twinned, 20 cubits long and 5 cubits wide, in keeping with the hanging of the court. There were 4 columns and 4 pedestals of the bronze forehead, while the hook were of the silver, and their capital and their bands silver plated. All the 10 pegs for the tabernacle and for the court around it were of bronze. Amount of the metal used. The following is an account of the various amounts used on the tabernacle. The tabernacle of the covenant, drawn up at the command of Moses by the Levite under the direction of the Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. However, it was Bezalel, son of Uri, son of the Hur of the tribe of Judah, who made all that the Lord commanded Moses. And he was assisted by Oholiab, son of the Ishamar of the tribe of Dan, who was an engraver and embroiderer and a weaver of the variegated cloth of the violet, purple, and the scarlet yarn, and of the fine linen. All the gold used in the entire construction of the sanctuary, having previously been given as an offering, amount to the 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the standard of the sanctuary shekels. All the gold used in entire construction of the sanctuary, having previously been given as an offering, amount to the 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the standard of the sanctuary shekel. On Becca a piece, that is a half shekel, according to the standard of the sanctuary shekel, was received from everyone who was enrolled, of 20 years or more, namely 603,550 men. 100 talents of the silver were used for the casting the pedestal of the sanctuary and the pedestal of the veil, 1 talent for each pedestal, or 100 talents for the 100 pedestals. The remaining 1,775 shekels were used for making the hooks on the columns, for plating the capital, and for bending them with silver. The bronze given as an offering amounted to 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. With this were made the pedestal at the entrance of the tent of the meeting, the bronze altar with its bronze grating, and all the utensils of the altars. The pedestal around the court, the pedestal at the gate of the court, and all the 10 pegs for the tabernacle and for the court around it. Exodus chapter 39, priestly vestment. With the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn were woven the service clothes for use in the sanctuary, as well as the sacred vestment for Aaron, as the Lord had commanded Moses. The ephod was woven of the gold thread and of the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of the fine linen twinned. Gold was first hammered into gold leaf and then cut up into threads, which were woven with the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn into the embroidered pattern on the fine linen. Shoulder straps were made for it and joined to its 2 upper ends. The embroidered belt on the ephod extended out from it, and like it was made of the gold thread, of violet, purple, and scarlet yarn of the fine linen twin, as the Lord had commanded Moses. The onyx stones were prepared and mounted in gold filigree work. They were engraved like a seal engraving with the name of the son of Israel. This stone was set on the shoulder strap of the ephod as the memorial stone of the son of Israel, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. The breastpiece was embroidered like the ephod with gold thread and the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn on cloth of the fine linen twinned. It was square and folded double, a span high and a span wide in its folded form. 4 rows of the precious stone were mounted on it. The first row in carnelian or topaz and an emerald. In the second row, a garnet, a sapphire, and a beryl. The third row is jacinth, agate, and an amethyst. In the fourth row, and the chrysolite, an onyx, and the jasper. They were mounted in gold filigree work. These stones were 12 to match the name of the son of Israel, and each stone was engraved like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes. Chains of the pure gold twisted like cords were made for the breastpiece. Together with 2 gold filigree rosettes and 2 gold rings, the 2 rings were fastened to the 2 upper ends of the breastpiece. The 2 gold chains were then fastened to the 2 rings at the ends of the breastpiece. The other 2 ends of the 2 chains were fastened in front to the 2 filigree rosettes, which were attached to the shoulder straps of the ephod. 2 other gold rings were made and put on the 2 lower ends of the breastpiece on the edge of the facing the ephod. 2 more gold rings were made and fastened to the bottom of the 2 shoulder straps next to where they joined the ephod in front, just above its embroidered belt. Violet ribbon bound the rings of the breastpiece to the rings of the ephod so that the breastpiece stayed right above the embroidered belt of the ephod and did not swing loose from it. All this was just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Other vestment. The robe of the ephod was woven entirely of the violet yarn, with the opening each center like the opening of the shirt, with the selvage around the opening to keep it from being torn. At the hem of the robe, the pomegranates were made of the violet, the purple, and the scarlet yarn and the fine linen twinned. Bells of pure gold were also made and put between the pomegranate all around the hem of the robe. A bell of pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe, which was to be worn in performing the ministry. All this just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Aaron and his sons, there were also woven tunic of the fine linen, the turban of the fine linen, the ornate skull cap of the fine linen pants of the fine linen twinned, and the sashes of the variegated work made of the fine linen twinned and of the violet, purple, and scarlet yarn, as the Lord had commanded Moses. The plate of the sacred diadem was made of the pure gold and inscribed as one a seal engraving sacred to the Lord. It was tied over the turban with a violet ribbon as the Lord has commanded Moses. Presentation of the work to Moses. Thus the entire work of the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting was completed. The Israelites did the work just as the Lord had commanded Moses, so it was done. They then brought to Moses the tabernacle, the tent with all its furnishing, the clamps, the frame, the bars, the column, the pedestals. The covering of the ram skin dyed red, the covering of the tahar skin, the curtain veil. The ark of the covenant with its poles, the cover, the table with all its utensils and the showbread. The pure gold menorah with its lamps set up in and with all its utensils, the oil for the rite. The golden altar, the anointing oil, the fragrant incense, the curtain for the entrance of the tent. The altar of the bronze with its bronze grating, its bowls and all its utensils, the basin with its stand. The hanging of the court with their column and the pedestal, the curtain for the gate of the court with its ropes and the tent pegs, all the equipment for the service of the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting. The service clothes for use in sanctuary, the sacred vestment for Aaron the priest, and the vestment to be worn by his sons in their ministry. Just as the Lord had commanded Moses, so the Israelites had carried out all the work. So when Moses saw that all the work was done just as the Lord had commanded, he blessed them. Exodus chapter 40, setting up the tabernacle. Then the Lord said to Moses, on the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting. Put the ark of the covenant in it, and the screen of the ark with the veil. Bring in the table and set it, then bring in the menorah and set up the lamps on it. Put the golden altar of the incense in front of the ark of the covenant, and hang the curtain at the entrance of the tabernacles. Put the altar for burnt offering in front of the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting. Place the basin between the tent of the meeting and the altar, and put water in it. Set up the court around about, and put the curtain at the gate of the court. Take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and everything in it, consecrating it and all its furnishing, so that it will be sacred. Anoint the altar for burnt offering and all its utensils, consecrating it so that it will be most sacred. Likewise, anoint the basin with its stand at the dust, consecrate it. Then bring Aaron and his son to the entrance of the tent of the meeting, and there wash them with water. Clothe Aaron with the sacred vestment and anoint him, thus consecrating him as my priest. Bring forward his sons also, and clothe them with the tunics. As you have anointed their father, anoint them also as my priest. Thus by being anointed shall they receive a perpetual priesthood throughout all future generations. Moses did just as the Lord had commanded him. On the first day of the first month of the second year, the tabernacle was set up. It was Moses who set up the tabernacle. He placed its pedestal, set up its frames, put in its bars, and set up its columns. He spread the tent over the tabernacle and put the covering on the top of the tent, as the Lord has commanded him. He took the covenant and put it in the ark. He placed the poles alongside the ark and set the cover upon it. He brought the ark into the tabernacle and hung the curtain veil, the screen of the ark of the covenant, as the Lord had commanded him. He put the table in the tent of the meeting on the north side of the tabernacle outside the veil, and arranged the bread on it before the Lord as the Lord had commanded him. He placed the menorah in the tent of the meeting opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacles, and he set up the lamps before the Lord as the Lord had commanded him. He placed the golden altar in the tent of the meeting in front of the veil, and on it he burned the fragrant incense as the Lord had commanded him. He hung the curtain at the entrance of the tabernacles. He put the altar for the burnt offering in front of the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting, and sacrificed the burnt offering and the grain offering on it, as the Lord had commanded him. He placed the basin between the tent of the meeting and the altar, and put water in it for washing. Moses and Aaron and his sons used to wash their hands and feet there, for they washed themselves whenever they went into the tent of the meeting or approached the altar, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Finally, he set up the court around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung the curtain at the gate of the court. Thus Moses finished all the work. God presents in the tabernacles. Then the cloud covered the tent of the meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacles. Moses could not enter the tent of the meeting because the cloud settled down upon it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacles. Whenever the cloud rose from the tabernacle, the Israelites would set out on their journey. But if the cloud did not lift, they would not go forward. Only when it lifted did they go forward. The cloud of the Lord was over the tabernacle by day, and the fire in the cloud at night, in the sight of the whole house of the Israel in all stages of their journey.